Shall we do that? Let's do it. So I welcome to our city council meeting this evening, and welcome to those that are watching online. As we begin each city council meeting, we open in prayer, and Pastor Aaron Berkowitz, did I say your last name right? Pastor of First United Presbyterian Church is here to open us in prayer, and then if you could lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance afterwards, that would be great. So let's stand.
My pleasure. Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Thank you, God, for this city, for blessing it with water, good earth, and for every person in it, because each of them has been made in your image. God, you shine in all that's fair, but most of all in the faces of our neighbors, and each of them reflects your image more than any glory in creation. So may we treat our neighbor, especially the least of them, as we would treat you, our Maker and our King. Give us kindness and open our hearts to compassion which engenders it. Bless our leaders with wisdom and courage to serve the good over praise or comfort. Thank you for each of their gifts and graces, and may they seek to outdo one another in showing honor to each other. Help them lift each other up, sharpen each other, and learn from each other. Above all, let each one learn from you what is good, true, and beautiful, and lead our city in their direction. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And if you would face the flag, join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, thank you so much. Do we have any proposed amendments to the agenda? Well, I guess we should start with roll call. Oh, forgot that. Okay, let's do roll call.
Rodriguez?
Here.
Bruner?
Here.
Hogaboom?
Here.
Levi?
Present.
Haverfield?
Here.
Skog?
Here.
Debbie, thank you so much for that look.
Great.
That was perfect. Okay, do we have any proposed amendments to the agenda? And I'm not aware of any. Council, are you aware of any? Okay, seeing none, I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
We have actually a couple proclamations, but the first proclamation that we have this evening is regarding Constitution Week. And are the ladies here that will be, hi, come on up while I read. And I will read this proclamation and then thank you for being here this evening. So, whereas in recent months and years, our community has faced, whoops, wrong one. Excuse me, I just realized that's not yours. Whereas September 17th, 2019 marks the 232nd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by our Constitutional Convention, and whereas it's fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas public law in 1915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. I, Deborah Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 23rd, 2019 to be Constitution Week. And in Nampa, Idaho, we ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Share with us a little bit.
Okay. I am Rhonda Krenn, and I am the state chaplain for the Daughters of the American Revolution. Now I've been other things, but right now I'm the chaplain. So, and so I have a few things I'd like to say. Our chapter regent is Susie Christensen. She's passing out bells so that we can all participate in a bell ringing ceremony. But I'd like to say tell you a little bit of history. On February 29th, 1952, a joint resolution by Congress designated September 17th as Citizenship Day in order to commemorate the signing of the Constitution. 2 years later, August 2nd, 1954, Congress did set aside that whole entire week of September 17th to the 23rd as Constitution Week. In keeping with the congressional mandates, President Ronald Reagan consistently issued proclamations during his years in office and specifically requested help from every state and community leader in a speech that he made saying, and I quote, "I urge federal, state, and local leaders as well as civic, educational, and religious organizations to conduct ceremonies and programs to commemorate this occasion. Let us remember the 55 men who wrote the Constitution. May the sacrifices they made and died for never be forgotten, and that we would continue to guard the privileges of liberty and freedom for generations to come. That is why the Ida Howe Daughters of the American Revolution are here today. We are women that are dedicated to preserving the vision of our founding mothers who in 1890 made it their mission to promote God, home, and country, and to educate and encourage patriotism. This evening is a privilege to recognize our wonderful Constitution. Now, I will tell you a little bit more. On September 17, 1787, the Constitution was signed, and when the delegates emerged from what is now known as Independence Hall in Philadelphia, all the bells rang out in the city to celebrate. Between 1753 and 1846, the Liberty Bell tolled for many occasions. Besides just marking the Constitution, it announced the deaths of founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and Thomas Jefferson. Engraved on the Liberty Bell is "Proclaim liberty throughout the land and unto all inhabitants therefore." Please join the Ida Howe Daughters of the American Revolution by ringing the bells to signify our love and of our country and for the freedoms we enjoy. May all who hear realize our commitment and responsibility to keep the fires of patriotism growing brightly. Thank you.
Rhonda, I just want to say thank you, and Susie, thank you so much for being here, and I thank you for your leadership with the Daughters of the American Revolution and continuing to inspire us and encourage us. Education is important, so thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you.
And Mr. Steve Krenn, thank you for being here. Former councilman, thank you for your leadership in our community. It's appreciated. Thank you so much. So the next item on our agenda is our Nampa residents wishing to speak for 3 minutes. And the first group that we have on the agenda are Moms in Prayer International. Oh, Amy, thank you. I'll trade you. You can catch them. Thank you.
My name is Pam Maxton, and I'm a Canyon County Area Coordinator for Moms in Prayer International. And I thank you for allowing me to introduce this organization to you. This organization has been around for 35 years in Nampa and Caldwell for not quite that long, but we have a long history here. And basically, as you'll see, in the information that I'm giving you, there's an insert that says the core values and guiding principles of Moms in Prayer International. The mission is that Moms in Prayer International impacts children and schools worldwide for Christ by gathering mothers to pray. And the vision statement is that every school in the world would be covered with prayer. Our goal is that every school would be covered with prayer, and that includes Nampa. And so I would ask that when you take these materials home, that you would find someone to pass them on to a friend or a relative who would maybe want to be a part of this organization. And we impact communities in a supportive way, especially through schools. We don't meet in the schools, we don't advertise in the schools, but we gather to pray for teachers in schools. And so we are promoting a supportive climate for education. Moms don't gather to gossip, they don't gather to worry, they gather to put confidence in the place where they feel confidence belongs. So Moms in Prayer International is around the world now. It started with one mom and her friend. It is in 140 countries around the world. Are there any questions?
Mayor, I do. I just curious, because in Nampa, we have an organization called Treasure Nampa. Do you partner with those? My understanding is at least all but 2 schools are covered by a church, and I would hope that prayer would be involved with that.
I am looking forward to being partnered with them, but we have not up to this time, but I'm looking forward to that connection.
All right, wonderful. Thanks for what you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mayor, if I could. I met Pam and Ellen Freeman, and I don't remember the other lady's name, but over with Mr. Roscoe, Bill Roscoe's mission when they opened up the facility here in Nampa. And that's where I met them. And Ellen Freeman, of course, I've known her husband for years because he's a retired Ada County lieutenant with the sheriff's office. So we go back a long time ago. So when I met with these ladies and discussed what they really did, it's just amazing that the kids that were here, when we said this that we wanted to pray before our hearing started, they were right on with it. This is what it's all about, and I think we need to, especially now more than ever, is reach out to our community in terms of prayer, and make sure that we head off what's coming at us in every different direction. So I applaud Moms in Action. I mean, Moms in Prayer. This is good. So I'm glad you're here. And thank you for taking the time to come and telling us what it's all about.
Yes, well, it's a very grassroots organization. Our people find out about it through word of mouth. We also have a website, momsinprayer.org. So it's a very one-on-one, 1 hour a week is what it takes, and it's all about prayer. There's nothing else that goes on during that hour. It's very focused.
And also, you don't go to the schools. You
Yes,
pick
it's
a location to pray for the schools.
Yes, in homes or in churches. So we do respect that wall of separation. But we do often, we pray for teachers by name. We go on the school website, and so it's very strategic in that way. Pray for events that are happening at the school.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, ladies. Really appreciate your dedication. Thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for standing in the gap.
Yes, and if anyone in the audience would like information, I have friends that are able to hand it out. We also have brochures in Spanish, so just raise your hand if you would like any of our information. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Pam.
So our next 3-minute item on the agenda is Melissa Gentry and the Boys and Girls Club. And did everybody see the incredible, beautiful artwork that was on the steps when we came in tonight? These guys did it, and they are so amazing. Beautiful job. So we do have a proclamation. This week is Kindness Week. And thank you. Look at all these shirts. You guys are great. Okay, so I'm going to read this real quickly. So whereas in recent months and years, our community has faced tragic losses due to youth suicide. In fact, Idaho ranks between 4th and 8th each year in the United States for the highest number of youth suicides. And whereas behavioral health issues are complex, but we want to elevate kindness in our community so people feel more connected, respected, and valued. And whereas through public awareness and participation, Nampa seeks to strengthen our community through kindness. And whereas we're asking businesses and schools to join us in encouraging children and adults to be more compassionate as a result of the awareness raised during Kindness Week, and show support by wearing special Be Kind t-shirts and wristbands. And whereas the Boys and Girls Club, through its collaboration with St. Luke's Children's, St. Alphonsus Nampa, Nampa School District, the City of Nampa, they're joining together to promote community kindness through a unified approach in our community. So I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, hereby proclaim September 16th through 21st in the City of Nampa as Kindness Week. And I want to say thank you, Melissa, thank you for taking the lead. Thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for championing and getting us going down this road. It's awesome.
Thank you. Mayor and council, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for us to come out today and bring our guests. They were excited. Many have not been here before, so it was fun to show them the city hall. And I hope you join us on Saturday. We will be doing activities. Stop by the club through the whole week. We will be doing different activities at the club and through the schools. And we'll end on Saturday from 6 to 10 showing the movie Wonder. If you have not seen that movie, it is amazing and talks all about kindness. And so we'll have a big movie, and everything's free that day. So please tell friends and family to come out and celebrate it with us. And we will be doing our kindness links. So if you haven't done your link, please let us know. But all the schools will be doing a kindness chain that will link together to show our kindness for the city. Our goal next year is a Guinness Book of World Records. So this is our practice year, and we've got to beat 2.5 miles. So that is our goal. So thank you for having us,
And we'll
stop
see
by.
you Saturday
Yes.
night. Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you for making City Hall amazingly beautiful. Bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. And the next person on the agenda is William Rex. William, are you here? And while you're on your way, I'm going to read your address, since you have to state that. It's 1216 Holly Street, Nampa. Is that correct?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. A month ago, I was standing here at this podium to bring up an issue of code enforcement representing 9 other people and myself. And here I am again. I'd like to report that there is some progress. The east side of the area in question, looking from the street, it looks almost normal now. Very nice, very nice. Took years for this to happen. South side, north side. Now, the residents there have a unique problem. Their problem is they're inches away from the problem, both north and south. So depending on what code enforcement does about their situation, we'll have to revisit that some other time. West side. That's me. I talked to Madam Mayor's office about this, and they said that they would like code enforcement to come to my home again and look at the situation. I contacted code enforcement by phone, and they stated that they could be there tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. And I said, yes, I'll be there and we can do that. So tomorrow at 12:30 p.m., they will arrive and they will come into my home for the 4th time. They will go up the staircase for the 4th time. They will enter the 2 rooms on the east for the 4th time. They will look through the 3 windows on the east for the 4th time. And for the 4th time, they will look at that sorry situation that is to the east of us, 55 feet away. Now, what they do about this, that's their code enforcement. However, I do have one last thing to say, that doing the same thing continually and expecting a different result, I'll just leave it to you to figure out that one. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Any questions?
I appreciate you coming back, Mr. Rex. Thank you. And we'll continue to follow up. Thank you very much. The next person on the agenda is Michael Marion. Hi. While he's coming, I believe the address is 3100 Montego Way?
Yes, it is.
Tampa.
Thank you for the honor of being able to speak to you all again. I mainly came to get an update on the speeding problem in the Island subdivision and see what progress we're making. And I was really enlightened last time by the police, the officer, I think it was the police chief, said that the signs that they set up that monitor the the cars going by actually track the data and let them know what the speeding ratio is in that area. And so I was excited about that and was wondering if that had been shared with you guys, because after the last meeting, we were pointing in the direction of engineering. And the problem of our subdivision since I've been on the board has always been every homeowner that I've talked to is concerned about speeding. It's probably true about every HOA here. And I'm glad that the city council's doing something about it. I'm excited about that. I just heard about it today. And so I'm looking forward to the City of Nampa traffic calming guidance thing. And speaking with Daniel Badger, I just want to thank you for letting me bring this up to you guys. I think it's a great opportunity for the public to be able to be part of this, and watch you guys drive this city. It's really amazing. And I did want to bring up a recent experience. I don't want to go over the 3 minutes, but recent experience with code enforcement. We had Carol Shackelford come out on a call, and she was fabulous. She, if Kent Lovelace is here, I'd like to make sure that he knows that, because she did a spectacular job. They came out, she set up a time to meet with an engineer, because we had several places in the subdivision where there were blind corners, and we've almost had we had 2 accidents. We almost had really bad accidents twice. So there were shrubs that needed to be cut down. It was one of these things where they needed an engineer to make a judgment on the vision, the safety vision, right? And it was taking care, everything that she was pointed out to, she took care of right away. I mean, I could name them all, but I'm probably at my 3-minute mark right now. But I just wanted to give credit for that. And this is kind of off the subject, just because I get a chance to ask this question. And I thought of this as I was driving here. Can I ask, Madam Mayor, what's happening with the Amazon thing? Is that gone, or is it on hold, or is it? Because I don't get it. I've asked people, and you would be the only one that would know.
Well, we have a project called Project Bronco. That might be what you're referring to.
What's it called?
Project Bronco, that might be what you're referring to. And it is currently on hold, but we look forward to it.
good.
We anticipate it coming back, I would anticipate, but that's strictly speculation.
That's a good speculation. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for building relationship. One nice thing about this is building relationship with city staff so that you know who to contact when you do have challenges. And I think hopefully you've done that, so you have your points of contact in place, which is good.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you
so
for
much
speaking
all
up.
your effort on that, too.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I ask Daniel a question regarding Michael's testimony that he gave us? I was in another city this week in Idaho, and I happened to notice that the mobile device that we have that gets moved from neighborhood to neighborhood and checks your speed, that they actually had a permanent one that was on like a stop sign stand type thing. And I was wondering, one, are those really cost prohibitive? Is a subdivision, could they take that on themselves if they wanted a traffic calming device?
Mayor, Councilman Levi, I don't know the cost on those units. I can certainly look into that. That is one potential treatment for a traffic calming, though that would likely be one with more ongoing costs associated with it than some of the more permanent installations for other traffic calming devices, speed humps, those types of things. But we can certainly look at that and let you know what we find.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you.
Did you put, there's one on Greenhurst in front of the school, Greenhurst and 12. I went driving down the street, and sure enough, here was one of those things monitoring your speed. And it was mounted on the side of the street, just like a regular speed limit sign. And it was electronic, and it was reading my speed.
I'm not familiar. I'd have to look at that.
But I was gonna say, I went
Thank you.
online to check that, because I think you might have brought it up last time. $2,000. You know, I was like,
How much was it? How much was it?
3,000.
Oh, 3,000.
There were more than that, but depending on how fancy you wanted to get with it. But it was staggering.
Our police department is the one that actually deploys those, and so engineering has a more permanent solution that HOAs can approach. The police department actually is the one that, and so offline, maybe we could ask that question later. Thank you so much. So we do have, was there anyone else here that had intended to sign up to speak on a non-agenda item this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to mayor and council comments. I just have one quick comment, and that is that next month is, October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we will do a proclamation in October, but prior to the next meeting, there is an open house that's going to be held at the Nampa Family Justice Center, October 4th at 10:30 a.m. For those of you that have not been there, it's an amazing service, and there's an opportunity, if you'd like to be introduced to our Nampa Family Justice Center, that'll happen on October 4th at 10:30 a.m. Council, are there any other comments that you guys would like to make this evening?
I do have one, Mayor. Last 2 weeks ago, I received an email from Mr. Ray Norton, who lives on the north side. I don't remember the street, but over by Canada. And what they had in the neighborhood was having a problem, and they had traffic issues, of course. And of course, I referred him to Jeff, and Jeff took care of it, and we're good. And so I just wanted to say thank you, Jeff, for reaching out to our community and for doing a heck of a job. He actually, Ray Norton actually did send an email to us and said thank you and appreciate it, and the neighbors are happy with what we come up with. So thank you, Jeff. I think that's just awesome of you to do that.
Thank you, Victor.
You're welcome.
Just a quick FYI to council, we've been talking about how to get different departments to provide staff reports and provide updates to council. So we are going to be, Public Works will be doing a report once a month rather than every council meeting. Tonight, we will have, in just a few minutes, we'll have Police Chief Joe Huff. We will be rotating different departments to where you'll have 2 staff reports each time, and over a course of time, you'll get to the various departments in the city to keep you just apprised of what the city staff is doing. So the next item on the agenda, we're going to move into, unless there was another council communication, seeing none. Agency and commission reports. Nampa Community Reentry Center. Thank you. Jeff, I don't know who wants to, okay. Go ahead, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name, and I've got your card right here. That's embarrassing, I've lost it. Actually, I found it. So Bruce Wells Moore.
Yes, ma'am.
Bruce, it was nice to meet you this evening. I have had the opportunity to tour the facility, and it is amazing. The work that is being done is to be commended.
Thank you.
It is excellent.
Thank you.
And thank you, and I'm so sorry I forgot your name, but
No
thank you for
worries.
coming tonight and providing us an update on what the work that's being done locally here in our community.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor and council members. Trying to figure out how to do my stopwatch here. So, okay. So, I kind of want to just give you a brief overview of what we do at Nampa CRC, Nampa Community Reentry Center, what we're about, who we bring to the facility, if we're an asset to Nampa at all or any community. I think all those things are important questions. To give you a little bit of background, I started life I was in the military, and I was a social worker, and now I work for the Idaho Department of Correction. This job has been like the best of blending of all those things. I work with, as I said, the Idaho Department of Correction. I've been with the department 18 years. Nampa CRC has been in this community since the late 70s, early 80s. And currently, we have 115 men in our facility. They're no sex offenders, they're nonviolent offenders, and they have, the majority of them are about 18 months maximum from their release dates. We also have people with longer time that are workers, drivers, that type of thing. Of the 85 men that are in work release, we have the opportunity to work with several employees. Employers. We work with 33 employers in the Nampa and surrounding area. Of those employers, The average wage for our offenders, less our car dealerships, because they make a lot more money, is roughly $16.25 an hour. The employers, all 33 provide 100% drug-free security and supervision. Of those employers, 48% provide promotional opportunities for the inmates working in their employ. We have 70% of those employers that offer skill building. 18% offer ongoing educational opportunities through CTI, or CWI, excuse me, and for education, HVAC, plumbing, those types of things. 76% of those 33 offenders do random on-site drug testing, which we do on all of our offenders, but it's nice to have the employers kind of following up with that. 64% of the offenders we have right now offer employment or insurance and health benefits. So because the offenders are in our custody, they don't need the insurance benefits, but we do allow them to get dental and vision. 2 months prior to their release, we're working with offenders now so that when they leave our facility, they've signed up for those insurance benefits so that they have them as they release into our communities. And if they have family members that are eligible, once they start in that employ, even at that 18 months, they can employ their wife and their children. So we want to make sure that they're employed. So those things are taking any burden off of us that, as taxpayers, in that setting. So we have 30 resident workers, and I really won't go into them. Those are our drivers. They do all the switch maintenance. State Hospital, sorry, it's the South. I have it written down. It's the Southwest Idaho Treatment Center, and we provide 12 offenders up there every day that go up and do their maintenance, their laundries, their room cleaning, and that type of thing. The part I'm really excited about is it's my position in that facility that these men give back to the community that they live in. The majority of the men that we have in that residence and in our facility are releasing into Nampa. They're releasing into Nampa with jobs. They're releasing into Nampa with no less than probably $1,000. We have some that release with over $2,000. Many of them pay off their fines, their fees, their cost of supervision. Of the 85 men we have on work release right now, 1/5 of them have all paid off those things off, so they're releasing without that debt. The other part is as I was saying, to give back to the community, they have to be a part of the community. They have to give back to the community. So we, with supervision, staff supervision, the inmates donate between 150 and 200 hours of community service. What that looks like for us, specifically in Nampa, is they donate to the Hispanic Cultural Center, so they do the yard work there. They just participated in the Pure Wellness rally that we just had. They are now participating in the mental health rally that we're having here, and they've done habitat builds in Nampa. The most recent one was for a VA, or a veteran. They also do the Idaho Special Olympics and Nampa Parks and Recreation. So they go in and they do some of the works around the parks where they're just not able to get to everything. So our inmates volunteer for those hours, and they do that all in their own time. They don't get paid for it. They don't get any compensation for it. They do it because they want to give back to the community. We do river sweep, brush up Nampa. We have a section of the highway that we keep clean over here. And then we fill, that's big, exciting, but we fill sandbags for the highway department for spring runoff. The other thing that we do is the 85 offenders. You have to remember that a lot of the offenders we have, maybe not a lot, but a number of the offenders we have had careers. So they are certified mechanics, or they are certified HVAC or certified plumbers. They are, so they have donated every year that I've been there, which has been about 5 years, between $7,000 and $10,000 of monetary goods and services to the Nampa Boys and Girls Club. They did a fundraiser and gave them a check last year. The Salvation Army Backpack Program. They donate to the Ronald McDonald House. They do, so all of that stuff, they do fundraisers within the community and in our center to raise money to give back to the staff. They take that knowledge with them, and that hopefully that want to give back to the community, not necessarily be a burden to society. Trying to think. The other thing I want to talk about briefly, going back to the work release stuff, is that not only are they tax paying, but they also pay on their child support. And as part of family reunification for the center, we work with Child Protection Services. Some of these men, their wives may be incarcerated as well. So we work with Child Protection Services to start that reunification back between the offender and his child, so that when he's released, that he's been building on that relationship with that child anyway. So the staff there, we're 15 staff strong. We're manned 24/7, 7 days a week, and I think we do some incredible work. I'm very proud of my job. I'm very proud of the Department of Correction for moving in this direction. I'm also very proud that they've trusted me in some of the things that we're doing, and been really supportive of us. The offenders have never ceased to surprise me. When we've done some of the builds or when we've done some of the charity stuff, they'll come back and they'll say, I was looking up the certain charity. Can I dedicate part of my income to that, to another charity? So they really are trying to be productive members of society. We have an excellent rate. We release them into the community with money, with resources, with building those family ties, and hopefully taking that into their families and then sharing those experiences with them. It's kind of fun to hear them during visiting days on the weekends talk about the things that they did, the good works that they did while they were residents. As they approach proximity to release, as they're getting ready to release, we tie them back in with their religious community. And so we have 20 offenders that leave every Sunday to go to church. We also, once a month for the last three months that they're in our facility, we release them to go back to their family and kind of acclimate back into the family, because if they go back thinking they just get to walk in the house and be the boss after the mom's been carrying it for 2 or 3 years, it's probably not going to work well. There's probably going to be some conflict, not only with their partners, but their children. So we kind of try to acclimate them that way. The reentry furloughs are perfect for that kind of thing. So I will stand for questions. I hope I wasn't too scattered in all that. So,
Mayor, I do. Number one, it's so impressive of a program. I know these two councilmen beside me, and we had the opportunity. Just a couple questions.
Yeah.
Number one, and maybe you're a better memory than I do. The sergeant that you know,
Sergeant Lechuga.
is he still with you, or did he get a?
He's sitting right
Oh, right there he is. Terrific. Good thing I wasn't going to say anything bad about you. Anyway, you were applying for another position, but you're still here. Okay, you're still there.
You told me you were going to try to do that.
Yeah, right. I would hire him in an instant if I had something I could give him. The other thing, I thought you mentioned, I may have heard wrong, you said 100, you have 115 men there, and you said
Right.
85 are on work release. What's happening with the other 30?
There are resident workers, so 12 of them go up to switch every day.
That's what you're talking,
Yeah,
switch.
we have 9 drivers, we have 3 cooks, we have janitors. So they're not ready to release. They don't meet that time frame.
Okay.
They're not within that 18-month period. So they are how we run our facility.
Okay.
And so we pay them.
Okay, final question, and such a wonderful concept, but the bottom line is recidivism.
Yes.
So do you have a percentage in the last year, 2 years, how many re-enter the corrections, or?
So right now we're looking at, I believe it's 34.4% recidivism rate. That is usually after 1 year of being on supervision. So right now we're trying to shore that number up as a department.
But you're making great progress there.
We're making
okay.
great progress. That means 1 out of 3 people or 2 out of 3 people are not coming back. So
Okay, are they able to re-enter into your program? If they go back to the state corrections or PIN or whatever, are they able to come back to you eventually if or not? I'm just curious on your policy.
They may come back as a diversion. The Pro Commission has a diversion program, so they may come back for 90 days back into the program unless they violate and they've been sent back to prison. But they can come back as a diversionary program,
Diversion.
which means they're at our facility for 90 days.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
Quick question on reentry. One of the challenges in our community is the cost of housing. So do you help with that, or are there ways to find them housing when they come out?
So, Mayor and council members, we have, I have 2 case managers that one of their jobs is, as they approach the proximity release, they've got to find them viable and sustainable housing. And they save up money to get housing. As I said, we have some offenders, I think the average is $2,400 when they leave the facility. If they don't have that, or if they were unable to achieve it, because sometimes child support payments are high, we take almost 50%, between 35% of what we take, vans, fees, laundry, that kind of stuff. But we do help. They have to have housing before they release. The Parole Commission will not release without that. So my staff work very hard to, it is difficult for them, you're right, because rents have gone up so high. But we try not to put them in any kind of transitional housing, though we do have to tap into that sometimes. But we do try to get them rentals that are cost effective.
Thanks.
You bet.
Are there any other questions? Thank you
You're welcome.
so much for being here. Thank you for providing the information. Thank you for what you all do
Thank you.
and being an important part of our community.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilman.
Yeah, pay him well, by the way. Keep him as long as you're,
trying.
okay.
We're trying to recruit them over to Nampa. That's what we're trying to do.
That's what I told him earlier. Come to Nampa.
Tom? And we're ready to step into staff reports. The first staff report will be Tom Points, followed up by Joe Huff. Jeff, thank you for getting this arranged. Appreciate it. Take care.
Evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Got a few items for you tonight. First is the Warhawk Air Museum. So the Warhawk Air Museum was founded in 1989. They have about 25,000 visitors per year that come to that facility. So that's quite a bit. And they also are gaining more displays, and they're looking for more space. So they're looking to do another expansion. So they've engaged the Airport Commission and Jeff and his team, and also are going through a CPR, which is a conceptual plan review. We don't have exact details, but I just wanted to let you know that there's something in the works out there. The next one is about the water line break on Flamingo. So we've had 2 water line breaks within a quarter mile on Flamingo. And Daniel just put up the video that Amy helped put together in the police department. So what we found is that it looks like these pipes are installed in the late 70s, early 80s. They are filling quicker than their design life should be. And we believe it's because of the installation. It's just we're finding some of these pipes that are exploding on the bottom because they're sitting on there's not sand, they're bedded on rocks and gravel. So we actually were planning on doing a project actually 2 years from now, but we recommend accelerating it based on this information. And then what we've done today is we were able to turn the valves off on either side of the pipe at the Elijah Drain and at Cassia Road. And Daniel ran the model, and it shows that we have enough fire flow and pressure for the region to be able to do that, so that we don't have to worry about additional breaks. We're going to go in and do a design, and we'll be back once we figure out how we're going to fund that, because we'll have to delay a project in 20 because this was not in our budget. It'll be about a quarter mile of pipe roughly, so we're about 300 to 400,000 is our initial estimate. The good news of all this, we had 2 breaks, but we had no property damage on either of them, because the water they broke kind of onto the top of the hill and flowed on down into the Elijah Drain and just went out and drained. So we didn't have any property damage. So that was good. And then the last item is just a wastewater treatment report. So every quarter we come in and give an update on phase 1. So we have A, B, and C. You got some pictures in there for you to look at. You got some good pictures of the construction. I got a picture of them setting in the lid of the digester. That was a pretty big event. And then the punchline is we're on schedule and in budget. And Friday, last week, we got our draft for use permit from the DEQ. So that was good news. We're looking at that right now and make some additional comments. So any questions for me?
Quick question, Mayor Council. On the replacement of the broken pipes that you said were installed in the late 70s, early 80s, what is the expected sort of life cycle on that?
Yeah, we would like to, usually for it's PVC pipe, so we would get like around 80 years is what literature tells us, so we're half. But it's, the installation it's reduced its life.
Is the PVC that's being installed now, is it any better than the PVC quality from then, or is it pretty identical?
It's similar, but if we just make sure that we get it inspected and bedded correctly, and then, we don't have these issues. Another, besides the bedding, it was also a little bit offline, so when it's not in alignment, it puts pressures on the joints and it'll pop out there, so there's multiple. Unfortunately, that's what we inherited, so we gotta try to take care of it.
And then have you identified the project that won't be funded yet? Is that something you're still working on? Okay.
Yeah, we haven't identified, but we'll be back here in the next couple weeks and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you and your team for your excellent work. It's appreciated. Thank you. Okay, the next staff report is Chief Huff with ComStat update. Thank you. Got your team here.
I do. This is going to be a joint presentation tonight, so thanks for having us here for a minute. We'll get you out 7 o'clock for your public hearings, but it's going to take just a few minutes. I'm going to start out, actually let me introduce these folks. This is Ken Keene, one of our department analysts. Ken comes to us from, about 2.5, 3 years ago from Los Angeles Police Department, an analyst there. And then Becky Robinette, one of our longtime community service officers. And she's right now mentoring under Ken, and so we basically we're moving her over to be a full-time, so we're going to have 2 full-time analysts. So tonight we're going to talk about ComStat. So we stay on track. I'm going to read. I'm not used to doing that, but I could talk for hours on this. So I would encourage you, if you have questions specifically for me, offline to get with me, because we can talk for hours on this. So let me just give you a quick overview on ComStat and kind of how it came about Nampa Police Department. So about a year ago, Captain Kurt Schenkel and myself had dinner with the chief of the Hartford, Connecticut Police Department. Our conversation was about the differences in policing philosophies from the East Coast to the West Coast. I had read about ComStat over my law enforcement career, but this gave us an opportunity and a chance to speak to an administrator who knew the ins and outs of the concept. Over the next few months, Captain Schenkel and Captain Daniels and myself decided that we would work to implement ComStat at Nampa Police Department. Beginning in November of 2018, Nampa PD educated and trained on this philosophy. Our main goal was to do it the right way, one that would work for our officers and our community. We moved the right people into the right positions. We sent employees to the Salt Lake Police Department and the Coeur d'Alene Police Department as a way to educate our employees about this concept, as both departments use a form of ComStat policing. We wanted to learn what went right and what didn't go so well during these departments' implementation process. During our last promotion testing earlier this year, our candidates gave presentations on implementation ideas and ways to fine-tune the philosophy prior to our implementation and to basically put the Nampa PD spin on it. At our shift change on June 9, 2019, we officially kicked the program off. So what is ComStat? It's a process used to collect, analyze, map, and review crime data and other performance measures on a regular basis. It's used to create best practice strategies to address and identify issues, implement strategies to address these issues in a real-time manner. ComStat holds police administration and employees accountable for their performance as measured by the data. Communication is key in ComStat. The information, missions, and strategies are updated in each and every briefing, and that's 4 times a day. We have bi-weekly meetings consisting of our managers, lieutenants, and captains are held to ensure that the proper tools are in place and direction is being given. And once each month, we hold a Chief's ComStat review meeting where we break down our past month's statistics, we discuss current projects and missions, These missions are broken down and evaluated, and our future projects are discussed. This meeting is open to any employee in the police department. So basically, in a nutshell, what is CompStat? And it's policing, it's proactive policing, and I can tell you right now, and these guys are gonna go over some of the statistics. We've been doing it for a quarter right now in Nampa, and it is working. It's a new philosophy that we're doing, and it's basically just smarter policing. And just to keep on time, I'm gonna let these guys go over some of the stats, because again, it's a really exciting thing, and I think you're gonna be pretty impressed with what we're doing right now at Nampa Police, so.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here and to work with the chief and the department, to work with Becky. She's tremendous. I want to say right up front, all of the databases and models that we build are based on something she created 5 years ago without any knowledge that it would be able to be used today in this kind of way. There was a way, how do we get numbers back out of all the numbers we push into computers? She wrote a program, ITD implemented it, and now we use it every single day. It's a download of the database of all the crime that's taken place. We put it in models, we crunch it, we massage it, and we pull out statistics. And we've been doing this for the past couple of years, and when the chief talked about this, when he got back from Hartford, he said, would this be possible, Ken? I said, absolutely, it's possible. It's just, do you want to do it, and do you want to go the extra mile and make it happen the way it happens for Nampa, not the way we did at LAPD or Bratton did in New York or wherever, but how does it work best in Nampa? And I think that is, for me, the single most important reason it succeeded as much as it has. Let me just give you a quick, brief overview of these stats. And by the way, I send out the stats every Monday to several different people throughout our entire department, all supervisory level. I also send to the mayor as well, and if you need to get some of these, let us know, we'll give them to you. But I want to also remind you at the bottom of every report we put out, it says, preliminary numbers prepared by CIAU for internal purposes only. The reason I do that is because every day numbers change. For example, we are down one in robberies because one robbery was coded initially as a robbery, but as investigators got into it, they realized this isn't a robbery, this is an argument between family members. It doesn't classify as a robbery. And so we massage and we comb through and we refine what things are actually called so that we meet the standards the federal government sets up, so that when we talk about crime numbers, they really are what we say they are, and it reflects adequately and appropriately what's going on in Nampa. So for example, and this is really an interesting year, and we saw this beginning at the beginning of the year, we're down almost 28% in Part 1 crimes. Part 1 crimes are homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, auto burgs or breaking into cars, grand theft auto, and also thefts, which a lot of them are shoplifting or personal thefts. We're down 28%. That's phenomenal for any city. And we've been tracking this and wondering, how is this happening so radically in this city? And it started in January. But if we look at the CompStat period, between the beginning of the year and the start of CompStat, we were down 25%. Between the start of CompStat and now, we're down 30%, almost 31%. So we've seen just about a 5% drop in Part 1 crime just with the start of CompStat. And the reason that's important is because you can say 30% drop, but that is not reflective of the full weight of CompStat. It's only been going since June, so we want to make sure we acknowledge what the real reduction has been. Some of the things that we look at, as you've already heard this evening, traffic is kind of a big issue. We look at traffic every single day. We look at the data that comes out of the database. We look at where the high traffic areas are, where the crashes are happening, where are we writing the most tickets. We look at it every day to see if trends are forming, if our officers' patrols are doing a good job, if we have an area where we need to move more enforcement to a particular area where there's a lot of crashes or where there's speeding or whatever the case may be. That's where we put resources. And what CompStat allows us to do is say, hey, here's a problem, here's a trend. Let's put resources there until this trend dies down or the traffic calms down. Then we can move the resources somewhere else. And what I've seen and what I've experienced, particularly with this department since the start of CompStat, is the morale increase. I've seen engagement by officers like I've not seen in the full time that I've been here. It's not uncommon for my email box to be full of people, emails saying, hey, Ken, we noticed this house over here. Is there any data that goes with this area? Is there anything going on in this particular part of town or downtown? What's happening in front of the library? Why is this always such a mess? And we find out the data, we strategize, we develop a plan, and then we put a plan into action. And what happens with ComStat, and the chief alluded to our meetings, our projects, and our missions, we'll see data, we'll see a trend, we'll get together with the stakeholders, the lieutenants, the sergeants, the corporals, and which team will be handling it, and we'll say, hey, here's an area, and they'll agree, they'll analyze from their point and say, we'd like to do a project in this area. Once we do that, they give it back to us, and we look at the data and we say, hey, what is the deeper dive we can do in this area on things we don't just see out of the database? And that's where I want to have Becky speak for just a moment on what she does so that we get a real good picture of what the area is before we initiate a project so that we're going after the right area, the right times of day, et cetera. Go ahead, Becky.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. After Ken and I go through and analyze all the data, and we start seeing trends, anomalies, oddities, then we do a deeper dive into looking at what is going on in those areas and develop projects or work with the command staff, the lieutenant sergeants, or anybody that has something that they can lend to a possible project. We then do a deep dive into that information, so it might be reading reports, digging into what's going on in the area, looking who the people are, maybe it's a particular house, a business, or a small area of town. And then that's where I come in with gathering all the intel on that information, to put that information together, to send it out to our troops, so that when they're going out, they have the tools that they need, besides what obviously they wear, but the tools that they need so they know who they're looking for, who are frequent people at some of these places might be cars, suspicious cars, that type of thing. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
And she undersells herself because she does so much of that intel work and pulling out the facts of the players that are going through our city doing different things, people that are involved in the drug trafficking trade, things like that. She really has the basic knowledge of all that intel and how to pull it out of other resources. And then at the very end, and as I conclude, I just want to throw a couple of things out because traffic is such a big issue. I know in the last 8 weeks, traffic accidents are down 11.8%. I know that in the last 4 weeks, it was only down 1.9%. The previous 4, 22.4. But we look at, I say that so you know, we look at every day, every week to see where are trends going up, where are they going down, how can we better deploy the resources that the city of Nampa provides us with so that we can actually raise the quality of life and allow people to flow through the city unhindered by all the different aspects of crime. And then when I look at the very end, and I just want to mention one last thing, Becky and I are overwhelmed by the work that we're doing. Our email boxes are full of requests. Can you build this? Can you give us data on this? Can you do this? A city this size should probably have 4 crime analysts, not just 2. And the reason I say that is because when I look at our numbers, I added them up this morning, and just in Part 1 crime alone, the city has, through the ComStat effort and the effort of the police department, saved almost 600 people from becoming victims. That means 600 people that didn't miss work because they had to go to a doctor or go to court, didn't have to take a car in to get it fixed, didn't have to go buy a new car because it got ripped off or repair a car because it got broken into. These numbers aren't just numbers, they're real people with real effect, and it's the people that you serve as council and as mayor. And I think the department is doing a phenomenal job. The morale, the engagement is better than I've ever seen at any department I've ever worked at or worked with when it comes to ComStat. And I've been doing this for a long time. And I got to tell you, bravo to the city of Nampa and to the police department for the work they're doing. That's what I got, Chief. Thank you. Questions?
I think Councilman Haverfield.
I let the other side talk most of the evening. Just a couple of quick questions. This is a crime analysis, statistical analysis of just Nampa only, or is it a crossover into the county, or even all the way to a national level?
It's just Nampa. For what we do, it's just the city of Nampa, and then all the areas that we end up going into. When you look at our map, our city map, it's kind of a Swiss cheese of a lot of unincorporated. We still service all that. We count those stats, but we do have a thing that says, this is just a city, these are unincorporated areas where we are involved.
So is your analysis then, or the statistics that you're creating, based upon law enforcement activity then? So so that's what you're tracking, it's just, those are the trends that you're talking about?
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Scott.
Chief Huff, these are pretty dramatic drops in crime rates. At what point do you tell me you don't need any more officers?
Give me more officers, we'll just get that much better.
Just let me know when you get there.
Just analysts, but drop the officers, right, Councilman?
No, it really is. Like I said, I can't sell it enough. I mean, it makes my job easier. It makes me look good because they are going down. But like Ken said, it's the morale right now at the police department. Guys and gals, they want to have a mission. They want to, they don't just want to answer a radio call and, go to briefing and go out and just do routine patrol. And what it is, and I can show you, offline some of the projects and the houses that we've worked at. There's one, I believe it was 82 calls for service the police department responded to just last year, one residence. Clearly, that's a thorn in our side, and all the resources that takes, plus all the neighbors and stuff, all the calls that have came in for that. And I can tell you, it was just a little under a 3-week period, I believe, that we made that one of our project houses, and we did 79 proactive stops and contacts at that house. And I can tell you right now, that house is working together with other divisions in the city, the old cars that were out there, the weeds that were out of control, the warrants, the drugs that were in that house. It looks totally different now. And those are the things I don't think you as council, it seems like a lot of the complaints, come to you guys, but we've got so many neighbors now that are calling and saying thank you, for taking care of this problem. And quite honestly, as a department, we stay on top of that. If those people or that particular problem wants to be a law-abiding citizen, we'll move on to the next issue in the city. If they don't, then we're going to focus on where they go until they either don't want to be in the city any longer, until they're in jail, or until they're law-abiding citizens. And then, it takes a certain level to get there. This isn't just the 2 or 3 red light violation complaints that come in. These are problem areas that we're focusing on, and we understand that as we push the problem down over here, more than likely it's going to pop up over here. So then we address that, and eventually that problem, the goal is for it just to go away. And then we move on to something else. And like I said, it's been 1 quarter now of the year, and so that was why we wanted to report to you, because so far we're seeing great success with the program.
Outstanding.
Mayor, Council, Bravo. I don't know if you remember, like 2 years ago meeting, I was asking about ComStat.
And I probably was like, that's foreign to me, because again, this is mainly an East Coast thing. I will tell you, the closest we could find was Salt Lake City and Coeur d'Alene. My goal is to have the rest of the police departments in the Treasure Valley using this in a year, and I think I want to be the change agent, the driving force on that, and it's hard to argue with real stats.
Yeah, so scale, it's working, and morale, which was the big concern in Bravo. And also, I spent time with some of Ken's colleagues in LAPD and with ComStat. So it's basically Moneyball policing, and the police officers, like you said, having a mission and using analytics to be proactive. It's exciting that the morale is good. The stats are great. It's exciting. And like with Councilman Skog, I'll wait till you say, hey, we're good on officers. So we're just, because you're doing such a good job. Yeah, all right. Sorry. All right.
Thank you for what you guys are doing. Thank you so much. Great job. Okay, so it is 7 o'clock, and we will move now into public hearings. So our first public hearing this evening is 6-1 on the agenda, and this is Republic Services, request for new extra haul services and rates based on the Canyon County Solid Waste Fee Schedule. Rochelle Klein is here. Rochelle, thank you for coming and giving us an update.
Thank you, Mayor Kling and Council. Rochelle Klein with Republic Services, 2130 West Franklin Road, Meridian, Idaho. And we appreciate you allowing us to bring this agenda item forward. It's no secret to all of us in the waste business that Canyon County Landfill has the very lowest disposal rates in the country. And so what that meant for years and years is people contractors and residents from Ada County would come over and dispose of their heavy waste here, their construction and demolition debris and their concrete and their wood stumps and things like that. So as Ada County landfill was seeing a decrease in that kind of heavy volume, Canyon County was seeing an increase. So in order to combat that and keep the out-of-county waste out, Canyon County, the commissioners voted to increase the disposal for just the heavy construction demolition debris, as well as a few other types of material that are on this list. Hopefully you got them at the landfill to more appropriate rates to cover their costs. So what that means is now people, if they drive over from Ada County or even in county, construction demolition debris is charged $34 a ton instead of $14.50 a ton, which was a significant hike, but it accomplished the goal they wanted, which was sending waste back to the counties where it was originally being generated for the most part. What it meant to us, however, was we pass through disposals to the customer. So we charge for the hauls, and then the disposal is determined by, the type of material is determined at the gate at the Canyon County landfill, and then we're responsible for letting the city know, and the city bills the customer. For us, the difference between the $14.50 a ton and $34 a ton on those construction boxes with all the growth in Nampa was pretty significant, and we were unable to recover those disposal costs. So we worked with Treasurer Spilly and also Finance Director Racine, and to bring that to their attention and say, can we create disposal codes here in Nampa to allow us to recover those costs? So these are not new rates to us as far as the haul is concerned. I think that was the question. There's no increase in the haul fee to us. This is revenue neutral to us, but it's just the ability to capture the disposal. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time, so Amy, thank you. So do we have a staff, anyone here to do a staff report? And I am not seeing anyone. Okay. So that said, Rochelle, thank you. We will do public hearing and then let you come back at the end. So this is a public hearing, and it is an opportunity for the public to weigh in on this particular issue. And so on this hearing, I don't have anyone signed up in support of or in opposition to. So is there anyone here that had intended to speak this evening? Okay, so seeing none, and Rochelle, I don't know if you have any more to share. I would ask council, do you have any questions for Republic? Councilman Haverfield.
In reading, maybe you can come back up. Thank you. In reading your letter to us, you're basically asking to add rates for construction, demolition, debris, clean wood, and biosolids. So it's not changing the residential rates at all.
No.
It's just adding those additional rates. That's basically what I was looking for.
Yes.
Just wanted to confirm that, then. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I understand correctly, this is an opportunity for them to capture the actual cost of the disposal. It does not impact residential fees, but it does allow them to post and actually charge what they're paying rather than absorbing. Do I understand that correctly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, yes, that's exactly right.
And that's the distinction I was looking for.
And I think the reason it's brought forward as a public hearing is because it's a new rate, so anything that's new or more than 5% needs to be brought before the public. So these are new rates as far as, they were new to Canyon County as of January 1st, 2019. They're just new to to us on the disposal collection side as of right now. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So in that there was no one signed up in support or opposition to, I would ask that a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Council discussion.
Yeah, just a question. It has effective January 1st, 2019.
That is when it took effect
Yes.
at Canyon County.
Okay.
But they have been absorbing the cost of that internally at Republic, and this is an ask for them to actually be able to charge what the actual fee is. But those fees did go up as of January.
I just want to make sure. So it'd be effective. Yes, got you.
Immediately.
Thank you. Go back.
Only at the Hogaboom House.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Council, what would you like to do on this one?
Mayor Kling, I'll make the motion to to allow the rate increase as presented to us, or add these additional rates as listed in this report to us.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 6.2 on the agenda is another public hearing. This is for annexation and zoning to light industrial zoning district for manufacturing facilities at 39 North Pickard Lane. This is a 7.83 acre portion of the southeast quarter of the section 24. For Tom Hines, is the applicant here this evening? Thank you. Tom, would you like to come up and state your name, which we've got, and address, and then we'll let you talk to us about your project.
I'm Tom Hines at 4660 Saddleridge Drive, Nampa 83687. So my wife and I bought this about 3 months ago, and what we'd like to do is turn this into, I know the city has already planned this to be a light industrial zone, but go through the whole process, get it to be a light industrial zone, and then we're going to move our businesses out there as well as develop the ground a little bit more to add some other small business opportunity places. So.
Wonderful. Council, do you have any questions at this time?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Levi.
Thank you. What are your businesses?
I'm kind of running 3 different businesses. So we have a company called Odin Works. We make firearms parts for the gun industry. I have another one called Air Vice and Work Holding, where we designed this pneumatic vise that is used in pretty much the robotics industry. So robotics have to load onto a machine, and this holds the part or whatever they need it to do onto to a milling machine or whatever they need. And that's is a new company this year, and so far we've been shipping all over the world for that. And then we have the other company, which is really the manufacturing division that supplies the finished goods to the different companies.
Follow up, please. Thank you. So you're not expanding anything, you're just moving the companies?
We are totally out of space. We're in about 17,000 square feet in Boise on Executive Drive now, and I can't expand anymore. So we are 100% expanding the company.
And from what I understand from the nature of your businesses, there are no health concerns or environmental concerns of that nature?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Thank you.
No, in the lovely city of Boise, we get inspected for that all the time, so.
Thank you.
Mayor Kling, just one quick
Yes.
question. Are you in the flight path of the airport over
There
there?
is an easement from the center line of the runway, so we're right on the runway.
Okay.
And the easement starts out from the center of the runway, it comes out 125 feet, and then it goes up at a 1-to-7 ratio. Our property line's about 250 feet from the center line.
Okay. Have you talked to the airport staff at all as far as limitations on building height, reflective surfaces,
Absolutely.
those things? You're working with them on that?
Yep.
All
And,
right.
and they totally understand this is gonna go to, industrial, light industrial properties, and as long as we stay out of their slope,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah. Okay. As long as you're doing that, that'd be great.
Just out of curiosity, how many employees do you have?
We're right about 30. We peaked out a couple years ago at about 33, but we're just maintaining that 30. And we're excited to bring on more.
Awesome. Thank you. Are there any other questions from council at this time? As you know, in a public hearing, you will have the opportunity to come back and give some closing remarks. So we'll holler back at you in just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Rodney?
Mayor and council, for the record, Rodney Ashby, principal planner. So this is the property, as was stated. The runway runs along here. I'll show some more pictures just so it's more clear, but the comp plan identifies this as an employment center. There's not a lot of clear definition in the comprehensive plan about what an employment center would allow, but to see 30 new employees coming to this area is probably a really good thing. Plus, the comp plan also shows that the light industrial designation just to the north would also be able to be stretched, and so it fits into that designation. The comprehensive plan for the county is also M1, which is light industrial. It's consistent with that as well. So here is the existing boundaries of the city and the zoning there. Just to the north is the light industrial. So again, it's very consistent. There's, of course, the runway you can see right to the north. There's some existing agricultural buildings on the property right now. Those are those buildings. The applicant indicated that their intention was to get rid of these older buildings and construct new industrial buildings. So to the south is enclaved industrial use and vacant land. To the east is vacant land, farmland, and then to the west is vacant land, enclaved auto auction, IL zone, and rural home enclaved. There is utilities to the property, and there is a private common drive, which is the North Cajun Lane. It runs right here from Victory Road. And they're addressed off of this property, or this little road here, but again, these are both private roads, and they would access it across here. So the Nampa Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. Councilman Haverfield pointed out the concern about the airport runway and the runway protection zone. The airport has indicated that when there's something to be constructed, it's better to have these larger, how should I say it, less congested areas such as industrial than it is for some retail, commercial near those runway protection zones. So as long as they meet the height requirements of the airport runway protection zone by the FFA or the FAA, then they would be fine in that location. Let's see, it's the Idaho Transportation Department just indicated that it's not abutting a ITD roadway. And the City Engineering Department or Division supported the application if their conditions are met, and they have capacity for services in the area. Pretty straightforward project. These are the recommended findings. Staff recommended conditions are presented in the staff report. And I would stand for questions.
Mayor Queen. Rodney, will there be 2 points of access to this parcel or just one?
Daniel, can you speak to that?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield. The current access point is there at Gray's Lane, and that private street, Cajun Lane, comes in. The property owner over here has recently put in an access across the Mason Drain here. I don't know whether or not that's all within the county, and so we have not seen their development plans for what they're doing there. They've got RV storage and stuff that's going in there. That is a potential location for a secondary access through that, whether it would be all the time access or an emergency. They would have there is a second crossing of Mason Creek there, though we don't have control of that until it would be annexed into the city.
So Picard, as it comes down and turns,
Comes down now,
Right.
comes south, and then here.
goes west on Bourbon to Cajun?
Yes.
So that would be, in a sense, that's private as well?
All of that is private, yes.
So as far as the annexation, is it only annexing that parcel back there, or is it annexing the private lanes on Cajun?
The annexation request, if I'm not mistaken, is strictly for the highlighted parcel here, not for anything else.
And is that common as far as to have private lane access to a city property like that?
It's not common, but it's not unheard of.
So as far as the width of the access, the section itself, is that county standards or is it city standards that it'll be built to?
It would most likely be treated as a drive aisle, and it would be fire department access standards. That is likely what would be imposed on it.
So it wouldn't have to be paved, it could just be an all-weather surface, I mean gravel?
Those portions are within the county, so they would have to meet the county standards.
Which-
we would likely push that it be paved, which would be the city's standards.
Okay, and my last question is just connectivity to city property. Where is it in contiguous?
So the airport property is within the city limits, as
Okay.
well as the dealer's auto auction property there to the
Okay.
west.
So as far as for water and sewer, is it coming from the northwest?
Water and sewer, there is existing sewer that runs along the south side of the Mason Creek right here, and then heads south. It also was then stubbed across. City water is in Gray's Lane, and has not been extended up there at this point.
So there isn't any city property that those utilities can be extended up? They'd still be in the county?
If this property were to want to connect to city water, they would have to bring that water from the intersection of Grays and Victory north within the drive aisle private street easement, which generally those, if I remember the plat correctly, when that went through the county, those did have blanket easements for utilities over those streets.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions at this time? Okay. So this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone signed up in support of or in opposition to. So is there anyone here that had intended to speak on behalf of this issue this evening? Seeing none, there is an opportunity for the applicant to come back. If you have any further comments, and if I see the shaking the head, no, but council, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Mayor Kling, just one last question then for
Yes.
the applicant. Are you going to subdivide the property or just leave it as one parcel?
I have plans of subdividing it,
How
yeah.
many lots?
I think 7,
Okay.
from the way it physically lays out, 7 would be the right number.
And you don't see any issue as far as with the access to the property off of the one road?
Could we go to a slide? So, oh, that's a good one right there. Can you see your pointer? This is awesome, by the way. So where these two roads intersect, down through here, we actually have an easement. And one of the gentlemen said that the developer put it in, or said that the RV park put it in. It's actually shared on the developer's lot that he still owns, which is this 10 acres right here. And they just put that in.
So
So
you
there
have a-
actually is 2 accesses to it.
Okay, well, that helps me then. So you have joint access agreement in place already?
We do.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
One clarification.
Yes.
I wasn't sure, are you moving 30 employees over here roughly, or are you adding new employees in?
We're bringing them. And what's funny is most of them are 2C residents. So it's about 90% of them will get back 45 minutes of their day at least.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Good.
But we have full intentions of adding more people as soon as we have space to add more machines.
They won't have to drive so far every day.
No, ma'am, I'm gonna have a 9-minute commute.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Council, if there are no other questions for, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Levi.
I'm good. I'm just ready for it to close. I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, so I would stand
She's
for a
all of it.
motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council discussion? Councilwoman Levi?
Thank you, Mayor. Sometimes you got to just jump in on these guys, okay? I would like to move that we approve of the request for annexation and zoning to light industrial for Tom Hines in case number ANN 127-19 and conditions of approval.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other discussion points? Hearing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes, and thanks for coming to Napa.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Levi.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, guys.
This is absolutely the kind of development that we need. which is the manufacturing and jobs. So thank you. We're glad to have you here. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 6.3, and this is the rescission of annexation and zoning development agreement between Trust One LLC and the City of Nampa that was recorded on September 12, 2006, repealing the development agreement applicable to the property at 17155 and 17175 Star Road. This is on the west side of Star Road, north of Cherry Lane. It's a 20.12 acre portion for the City of Nampa Planning and Zoning Department. So applicant.
Mayor and council, I don't think I have to state my address, do I? Rodney Ashby, principal planner. And this one has come to you before. If you recall, this was application for a change in the development agreement to allow for a small subdivision of 3 parcels, Atkinson Acres, just recently. What we found is that when I looked into that subdivision, I found the history of this property was such that they had a development agreement consisting of all 4 of those parcels there that called for a smaller lot subdivision, an RS 8.5 subdivision. And they did rezones, they split the properties, they have developed it out as a low-density residential, and it just does not apply. And for some reason, it just wasn't rescinded in the past. And so the application is for you today is to rescind that development agreement. I can go through some of those details there, but I don't think they're really necessary. Really, it's a straightforward rescind this so that the existing uses can be there on that property.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. So applicant and staff report together. So this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone signed up in support of or in opposition to. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify on this item this evening? Seeing none. Unless there are questions for the applicant and staff, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sure. Okay,
Let her have all of them tonight.
so I see there's no discussion, correct? Okay. Councilwoman Levi.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I would move to approve the rescission of annexation and zoning development agreement between Trust One LLC and the City of Nampa in case number DAMO 032-19.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Okay. Item 6.4 on the agenda is an action item. This is a variance of required 14,000 square foot lot area for construction of a fourplex in a 2-family residential zoning district at 1111 East Iowa Avenue. And this is on a 12,000 square foot lot after the right-of-way deduction. So, and this is for Anthony Sparks. Is the applicant here this evening?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Richard Wilmot, Chrysalis Architecture and Planning, representing Anthony Sparks, owner of the property, who's in attendance here tonight. As the variance states, we're asking for a reduction in lot area and maintaining the amount of unit count for what would be a 14,000 square foot lot. Once the property was annexed into the City of Nampa, the lot area was reduced by a couple thousand square feet, which in turn reduced the amount of units that we could put on there. And so what we're effectively asking for is your approval to maintain the 4-unit count for a 14,000 square foot lot. Given that for the first 2 lots, it requires 7,000 square foot in the RD zone, and then for each additional lot, it's another 3,500. So the property was annexed on July 15th, and of course was required to give up the right-of-way area, eliminating the opportunity for a fourplex. So we've presented a concept plan. I'm not sure, is there an, oh, right there. Yep, back, there you go. That's concept plan basically represents the required amount of parking for 4 units, as well as open space requirements and maintaining setbacks and height restrictions and all the various zoning requirements for an RD, with the exception of the reduced lot area. The development would be fairly compatible with what is happening around this particular development. It would be a market rate unit. We would likely be trying to accommodate students or young professionals, if you will, with this particular design. Not necessarily going to be this exact design, but it's representative of what we're thinking. With that, if the council has any questions for myself or the applicant or the owner of the property, we're here tonight for that.
Mayor Kling,
Yes.
quick question. What's your rear setback?
Right now we have it at 10 feet to the porches and the back storage area there.
10 feet. Okay, so the main building line's a little more than 10 feet.
That's correct.
Okay, and then you'll work with Republic as far as on your trash enclosure location?
We will. That is one element on this particular plan that wasn't totally incorporated, but we will absolutely work with Republic on that.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Wilmot? Thank you. As you know, after public hearing, we'll have you come back.
Thank you.
To answer any further questions. Thank you. Staff report.
It shows the parcel close up. Again, the code requires a 14,000 square foot lot. This property was previously and recently annexed by the city. You may remember it. The issue that qualifies this for a variance is the fact that, and I think this, I'll just go to this final slide actually. It shows this parcel highlighted on the right. The northerly 30 feet, which amounted to 20% of the property, was required to be dedicated for the widening of Iowa, which was justifiably required because it makes it more compatible with the neighborhood and able to deal with the traffic that it creates. What was, I guess, allowed, because it reduced that to 12,000 square feet, it would only have allowed a triplex based on the lot size. So now the applicant's asking for the variance of the 2,000 square feet on this 12,000 square foot lot in order to have it as a fourplex instead. So in my view, the impact on the neighborhood of the additional dwelling is not that great in terms of, but the roadway dedication will deal with the impacts that the traffic of one more unit would facilitate in the neighborhood. So in my view, that may qualify for a variance. I guess it's subject to the council's determination. It was a circumstance beyond the applicant's control, which restricted his original intent when he purchased the property, that reduced this lot size. And so it is a characteristic of the property in that it's the remaining 12,000 square foot that put it down below what he thought he needed for the fourplex. So that is basically the request, and we've listed the required findings there for your review, and there would not be any conditions relative to this approval should you decide to approve it, because that dedication was already completed and that was the main condition of the annexation at the time. Any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councilman Haverfield?
Is 10 foot the appropriate rear setback? I was just looking for it. I think that
Yes,
it is.
issue with that setback.
Okay. And it looks like they've met the minimum parking requirement of 2 per unit
Yeah.
plus a handicap space.
And as you can see, there is, on the portion of the property that is, that line there is the right-of-way line, with the dedication right there. So there's a considerable area of green space out front as well as in those side yards in comparison. You can see, I think on one of these slides, this is the lot when the house was on it. It's this parcel right here, basically. This is the existing fourplexes, which would be to the west. This is kind of looking south. So this would be west. So it's right next to existing fourplexes.
Are there any other questions? Norm, thank you. So this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone other than our applicant signed up in support of. We don't have anyone in opposition to. Is there anyone that had intended to testify this evening? Seeing none, does our applicant have any further comment after the staff report? And council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council discussion.
Mayor, council, I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
100% tonight, come on.
The variance as requested under item 6.4 in our agenda for Anthony Sparks.
Her dream night was just crushed.
She was 2-0.
I'm just trying to move us along.
All she got to do was
Good
second
for
it.
you.
Is that called bullying or what?
Yeah, really.
She
So
was
it's
on a
been
roll.
moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Vogelbaum?
Yes.
We have moved very quickly tonight.
Good.
So yes, it is. It's amazing. Okay, the last public hearing this evening is annexation and zoning to single-family residential, 4,000 square feet, zoning for a district for Springbrook subdivision at 1104, 1210, 1306, 1318 Lone Star Road. This is 59 single-family detached lots on 13.73 acres for 4.3 dwelling units per gross acre for Landco Inc. I see our applicant is here.
He is.
He is. Good evening.
Good evening,
Mr.
Mayor,
Bills.
City Council, David Bills, Landco Inc., 3400 South Montego Way, Nampa. So we're here before you. If you recall, the council approved an RS4 amendment to the zoning ordinance back in April. And that ordinance change was designed to provide for infill development. And so this is your first infill RS4 application. And would like to just walk you through, partly from the standpoint of this application, but partly from the standpoint of education. And so what we have found is that working with infill has some great benefits, has a few challenges. And on this particular area, the benefits are that both sellers of the property, it's two different parcels of land being assimilated and put together. So both sellers have agreed to the right-of-way deeds. They've already been signed. They're in the clerk's hands. They've also agreed to the annexation of their remaining parcels. And so the city benefits, unlike previous where the house would get lopped off and excluded. Under that RS4 change that you made, those attachment or remaining parcels must also come into the city of Nampa. And so both sellers have concurred with that. And so with this, then you see the outline of the property as far as what's before you tonight on the annexation boundary. The actual plat is less, which is in your packet, because of those remainder parcels. And so Planning and Zoning Commission gave a unanimous approval to the plat. They also gave a unanimous recommendation for council to approve the annexation. We had no opposition from neighbors. We had some questions, but no opposition. And so those are the positive things with the infill, because normally under an infill, you could have several neighbors show up and have questions or confusion and/or opposition. The challenges then, from an education point of view, is to note that you have on this particular plat, we have the Nampa Meridian Joseph Drain. Nampa Meridian currently has a 60-foot right-of-way to maintain the drain. However, under their new rules, they require us to dedicate 100 feet of easement, and so that impacts the size of lots. And so we've done some negotiating with Nampa Meridian to date, and to try to find a partial happy medium. The other part is that on the city trails, this portion of the Joseph Drain is part of the trails map, and so it requires trail to be improved and done at our expense. And but unfortunately, because it's infill and because there's not trail or anything on either side of us, as well as there's a property that intersects, it'll be the trail to nowhere for a period of time. And that's the challenge, again, of the infill side. Short of that, we deal with, which is good from the standpoint of tying to utilities. There's an existing road here. And the nuance that the neighbors have kind of used that section of road as their storage area. And one day here soon, that storage area will disappear, providing we receive the affirmative from council this evening. Otherwise, it's dealing with some of the neighbor issues as far as fence lines, encroachments, and/or the desire to see a numerous number of trees removed for their benefit. So again, it's kind of the nuance. The good thing that I wanted to bring forward to you, so those are kind of the challenges. The plat layout is there and does well. We are making use of the RS4. However, our lot average is still 6,300 square feet if you averaged all lots. Before you tonight, though, in addition to the annexation and zoning, and Christy can speak to it, our plat does require that 3 lots have reduced setbacks against the street side. And it's necessary because we're bounded. We just have no more elbow room, and so we needed to shrink in order to meet all the requirements. Under the ordinance, that is allowed. It just requires city council's approval, and I believe Christy can speak to the details of that request. And here's the part that I'd like to share with council, because I brought it up during the time that the RS4 was this is part that's really important to infill, and why for years I've felt the city of Nampa should push forward on that. Here we have 59 lots. If we used an average of 250,000, which is a conservative number in terms of value, 1,600 square foot home, 440 square foot garage, and 120 square feet of patio space. Typical home currently being built within the city. You'll see that the impact fees for one lot is $54.59 or $322,000 from this development. Hookup fees then, $43.99 or $259,000. Building permit fees at $1,200, another $72,000. So the city of Nampa, off of an infill project, will likely receive $650,000 or above that. That's on a piece of property or 2 properties being joined together. No additional streets. Basically no new trunk lines having to be maintained. Very little impact from a overhead point of view, from a business term, overhead, costing the city, but a great deal of financial benefit on the one time. And then if you look at the property tax total revenue, additional $67,000 conservatively coming to the city every year. Once again, I think it's not to tout this as much as, from my perspective, to tout that I believe when projects are brought before you, they're infill, they need exceptions, they need a little bit of wiggle room. I would encourage council, obviously not only on this plat tonight, but on other plats to consider it, because there is a great deal of benefit to the infill development. You're to be applauded on moving forward with that RS4 ordinance. Staff is to be applauded. They've been working through both engineering and planning and zoning to run this one through, and we found the nuances with some of the different languages and placement of text in the wrong spot, different things. So it's been a good test run. In addition to, we want to bring this project right on forward. Mayor, any questions?
Councilman Haverfield.
Couple. Looking at our packet versus what was up on the screen, it looked like there was more frontage on Lone Star in that southwest corner, but that's not the case. It's just the section on the east side of the Joseph Drain. That's what we have in our packet. The other one looked like the 3 lots to the left of the drain were a part of your application, but they're not.
The actual plat is in the hashed area.
Right.
So this is a remainder parcel that is from one of the sellers, and these are other remainder parcels from the second seller. And so the whole area that you saw on the screen to begin with came on over and included the
Okay.
whole area.
So it'll all be annexed then?
All annexed
Okay.
to the city.
So the development, will it be in just one phase then?
We're anticipating 2 phases because we have that crossing over the Joseph Drain.
Right. So is the Joseph Drain going to be tiled, or is it going to be left exposed through the development?
Well, it's exposed for most of it, with the exception of where we tiled across it.
That section, the skinny section as it goes east-west.
Yes, coming right through this area here.
And I believe, if not mistaken, that upper right-hand corner, that little triangular shaped piece that's up there came before us at a meeting or 2 ago, where someone was looking to be able to develop that.
Yes.
Okay. So you'll have 3 points of access then for your development there: Joseph Drive, the Zions Park to the left, and then down on Lone Star.
Lone Star. So we make connectivity. We will help the Briarwood subdivision that went in back 20 plus, 30 years ago. The size of their lines, they'll see a pressure boost when we connect to their water.
Sure. Will there be any park space or any available landscape areas for kids to be able to move around on?
Well, there's this pathway that is going to be improved and
So they can
dedicated.
run down the road then?
They can run down the pathway.
Okay.
And otherwise, we have some common area lots typical for landscaping and storm drainage.
So Mayor, Mr. Beals, what's the length of that pathway? Just approximately, how many are we talking about? Is it, how many feet or yards or?
Roughly 900 feet.
900 feet, so about 3 football fields or so.
Yeah, the difficulty for parks is right in this triangle area. When this Briarwood was platted, the land came to the corner rectangular section of ground, and the drain bisected it. And they platted this lot right here to include that land on the other side of the drain. And so the landscaping on this side of the drain is in the eye of the beholder. And so, but in terms of right of city to go through there, that's an issue that Parks will have to work out with that particular property owner. And so Parks has directed us to improve one side of the drain to our crossing and then jump to the other side in order to make connectivity because of the.
So that's what's the reason you're gonna have to tile that one section is to get across for the.
It's also for access and to run utilities connectivity. And so it'll also benefit Nampa Meridian. They have a current tile right now that flows uphill. And so we'll be removing that on their behalf, and their maintenance will decrease. So as part of the negotiations, candidly, working out our plat, and they have easement, but we have still property line for ownership to have setbacks on the rear of the houses.
Thanks.
Are there any further questions? Councilwoman Levi?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Beals, would you please just clarify one thing, because I want to make sure I understand, when you were talking about the pathway to nowhere. So we have our 900 feet that our children are going to exercise on, but where's the closest connectivity if it were to be connected?
Well, the connectivity one day would be that this area on the south side of Lone Star would connect, and that drain continues to come around to Midland. And then the connectivity here is Parks will need to work through the access, and then place a bridge over the Phyllis Canal. And at that point, then it would connect to a pathway that was previously improved under a development in the last, I think, 2 to 3 years, somewhere up in here, and possibly where this duplex, fourplex property was developed. So Parks has 3 areas that need to get further improved inside of their planning to connect what we do.
Okay, follow-up, please. So then my other question is, I look at the property, I guess, 1210. So the path would be running right through the midst of that. What does that look like? As far as how are you going to use that piece?
You're talking this triangle area?
1210, just below that triangle area.
This area here?
Could you go back to the other one that you were just looking at, please? And then you can take me back there. So the one that's marked 1210, the Joseph Drain runs right through it.
Okay.
Okay, and then you can go back to the blueprint there. And what is going to be on that piece of property?
Here?
Yes.
Well, there's a residence house there right now that's owned by the seller.
Okay.
And so they are in process of recording a survey here that will record, provided we have the affirmative, it will record tomorrow. And those issues have been worked with the county to record that survey plat. And so they're leaving these residents as individual ownerships. And then these residents at some point, either additional buildings and/or connections to city services, now that the annexation would be complete.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Are there any further questions?
Conditions of approval, there'd be curb gutter sidewalk improvement, connectivity to the west of this and the east. Because this would be the one area, if I recall, that doesn't have a sidewalk connecting across Lone Star.
No, there's not. And there
Yep.
would not be, other than this little piece of sidewalk here where we're connecting to Lone Star as far as the plat is concerned, that would be the only connectivity. Otherwise, under, we would not be improving this area because we're not buying this property per se. The annexation, their agreement is with the annexation site. The other part of it is the new changeover on improving and widening roads is falling under the streets and which ones have priority and connectivity. So we met with, back in April, May, we met with city engineering and walked through all these issues along with planning and zoning to talk about what would be required, what would not be, and so that issue is not required.
Okay, gotcha. It'd just be great to eventually see that other part. I know that's not on you. I live just to the west, and so West Park is nearby, and problem is just as the subdivisions come in, it's nice to get the improvement, and that's just one area where there are no sidewalks when you're going for a walk, so you got to kind of go out, but at least you'll get that part done. So that'll be good.
And that's part of the challenge of infill.
Yeah.
Because in order to get the full, I mean, you're going to get dedicated the right of way in order to do the full improvements. Potentially, there's a house that has to come down. Because when the house was built 60, 80 years ago, it was built closer because the right of way was 30 feet instead of 100. So it's part of the challenges. And so that's why this is a good example case as far as moving ahead, but knowing it's not a perfect world on these infills.
Are there any further questions? And as you know, Mr. Bills, we'll have you back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Staff report, Christy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Christy Watkins, planner for the City of Nampa. So the action before you tonight is for approval of the annexation and zoning to RS4 for 4 parcels located at 1104, 1210, 1306, and 1318 Lone Star Road. These properties are not currently located inside the city limits, but are considered enclaved because the areas completely surrounding them are within the city limits. It's bordered on all sides by single-family residential subdivisions zoned RS6 and RS7. The RS4 zoning designation was adopted into code in April of 2019. This will be the first project that has requested this zoning designation. The only changes with this designation are to the property dimensions for property depth and overall property area requirements. The 4 parcels that are to be annexed will be annexed in their entirety. The residences that are currently on those properties will remain, and the plat will be the device to separate them into smaller pieces. The excess pasture acreage of each of those parcels will make up the properties that are within the boundary of the proposed subdivision. The findings of fact for the annexation are, the immediately surrounding land uses are all single-family residential. The requested zoning is RS4. The comprehensive plan designation is medium-density residential, which is 4 to 9 units per acre, and this development proposes 4.3 units per acre. Infill development meets the intent of the comprehensive plan and the goals for the city. All city utilities and emergency services are available to this property. The preliminary plat for Springbrook proposes 59 4,000 square foot or greater sized lots and 9 common lots. We reconfigured one of them, so now we have 9. He is requesting a waiver for setbacks on a couple of the lots because of the configuration. As he expressed, there are some exceptions that need to happen because of the layout of the property and the topography and the other things that are going on there. The conditions in this case apply mostly to the plat. So the condition for the pathway is based upon the Bike and Ped master plan. There is a potential connection to an existing pathway in the White Hawk subdivision to the north, right here. That subdivision goes directly out to Smith Avenue, which is across from Willow Creek Elementary. So it would create a connection at some point to an elementary school. There would be a bridge crossing here. There'd be some easement negotiation that would need to happen on those 2 properties. The fact that it goes to a school makes it a little bit more palatable for grant applications, so we might be able to get funding for that. The imposition of the RS4 zoning is certainly an entertainable request for this property, and staff would support an approval of the annexation and zoning to RS4 with a grant of the waiver for the setbacks. I will stand for any questions.
Mayor Kling? So what are the setback requirements?
So in an RS4, they would be 20 feet in the front and 5 all the way around, so both sides and the back. He's requesting a reduction down to probably 3
On the
on the
sides,
sides.
not on the rear?
Did
Okay.
you want in the front? We asked that he put notes on the plat specific to what he's requesting for each of those lots, and it applies to, I've got them listed here. Lots 1, 2, and 4 of block 4. So that's actually the center, let's see where it is here, it's those ones right there.
So it isn't every lot, it's just a few lots that you're needing to adjust.
Mayor and Councilman Haverfield, it's this one and here, and it's going from a 10-foot street side setback to a 5-foot street side setback.
So it'd still be a 20-foot, you'll still plan on a 20-foot front setback?
Correct. 20 foot is standard in the RS4. The exception that's granted under the ordinance that was passed on the RS4 is that the house can come forward to a 15 setback.
Right.
However, the garage is a minimum 20 setback. So it does
Okay.
allow for a little more creativity on the house plan. But otherwise, those are the only 3 lots, and it's just because, again, we're squeezed down and to meet the road design, to meet against the parameters and so forth. So to make it still a decent buildable lot by having a 5-foot setback on against the sidewalk versus 10.
I guess my question,
Traffic's minimal.
my question would be, why wouldn't you consider a 0 lot line? And maybe in a situation like that, instead of being 6 foot apart or 3 foot off the property line each side, just go with a 0 lot line, common wall.
Because you and I understand the common wall, but the general public doesn't.
Okay. It's just, I mean, that's just such a narrow space between buildings. And I assume these would be 1 and 2 story potential units?
Yes, but the interior is still the standard 5 foot. So all we're asking for is
Oh, it's
5
just
foot
on the-
against the street. So the only change up is just that we can go within 5 feet, you know, as far as the property line. Property line's typically a foot off a back sidewalk.
Mhm.
And so then it'd be 6 feet, where the typical is 10 feet.
Will these have sidewalks as far as around the development?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the street section is standard city already approved street sections. So we're not asking for any exceptions in engineering, so forth that way.
And then I assume the lots are large enough for two car garages, pretty much?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, we've kept 50 to 70 wide lots, pretty typical. We could have
Okay.
gone tighter, smaller. That wasn't our plan with this one. We wanted to venture forward with a first infill and still keep.
And just as a question, and I'm done, what are the average lot prices in this development?
That's a great question.
Thank you. Let everybody know so they can line up behind at your door.
What are you willing to pay?
Well, I don't know. He's got to tile the drain. I mean, that's, I don't know.
Are there any further questions?
Sorry,
Are you,
didn't give you that setback. The side, so the interior sides are 5, the back
Okay.
is 5. The corner or the street side is 10 from the property line, so it'd be behind the sidewalk, 10 feet in from the street.
So he's looking to
So he's
reduce it
looking to
down to a
reduce it
5 foot? And that's exclusive of the sidewalk? So there'd be 5 foot of vegetation and then the sidewalk and the street? Okay.
Wherever the property line falls behind the sidewalk.
Are there any other questions for staff?
thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a public hearing, and we did not have anyone signed up to testify in support of or in opposition to. Is there anyone here this evening that had intended to testify on behalf of this public hearing? And seeing none, this would be an opportunity for any final questions of the applicant or any communication back. No rebuttal really needed because we've been talking. So are there any further questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council discussion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the annexation and zoning to RS4 as presented with the conditions, and am grateful for this work of infill.
Absolutely. Second.
And just let me add, Mayor, I thank you, Mr. Bills, for this, and hopefully there'll be many more, whether it's you or other developers. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
I'd like to echo the thank you. This type of infill is important and needed. We appreciate you doing it. Thank you. Okay, that's the conclusion of our public hearings for this evening. Council, we've been here for 2 hours. Would you
Set up
like?
inning stretch time.
Okay, so let's take a very short 5-minute break and we'll come back. Thank you.
Yes. There's no NIMBYs in my neighborhood.
we're ready to move forward with new business. And the first action item, 5.1 on the agenda, is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign the amendment to the services contract agreement with American Cleaning Service Company for janitorial services at the Nampa Public Library.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Yeah, I actually have some notes on this one. I know we're trying to move fast. I had a question about the 25, Mayor Council, 25, sorry, I shut this down when we took a break, so let's turn back up. So we're paying $25 an hour for custodial services, which includes supplies, labor, everything kind of built in. Is that pretty much standard? Was this bid out at the initial time this contract was awarded?
Mayor, Councilman Hogaboom, this is the second year of the contract. We went under contract with them last year, had really good success with them, renegotiated for this year, and they came in with a 3% increase, which fit our budget. But yes, that does include everything that they do there. We've been extremely happy with them. We believe far superior than the first organization that we had in there before, and they've done a great job for us.
Okay. And there was only one other concern I had under call-out services. Does that only apply when they're not on call? So for example, Chair Clean had a service rate at $950, but a minimum charge of $150. So I just want to know how that worked.
Yeah, Mayor, Councilman Hogaboom, that as part of our contract requirements, we ask all of the bidders to list out the extra costs, whether we use that or not. We do some of that in-house, just so that we can make that part of our decision-making process for the agreement. They do have that minimum on the call-out. So typically, rather than calling them out for one chair, that would be for a whole room of chairs or something like that. On a one-chair or two-chair basis, if there was a spill or something like that, most commonly, that's something that our custodial staff would just take care of.
Okay, I guess that was the concern I had, was that if there was a spill on the chair, the protocol isn't to call them out and they're getting 150 plus okay. Okay, thank you.
That doesn't typically happen, no.
That's what I thought, just trusting but verifying. All right, thank you. That's all.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Also, I just wanted to ask you, is this $101,290, is that already in the 2019 budget, or is this for 2020?
This is for 2020.
Oh, okay.
And it is in the approved budget.
It is, okay. Thank you.
Are there any further discussions or questions?
Just one. And you do require that they provide you with the bonds and insurance before you sign this agreement, correct?
Mayor, Councilman, absolutely. We actually have a fidelity bond included as a part of this agreement, which is typical for most janitorial services contracts, and they have to abide by all the same insurance requirements and any bonds or anything that's required.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda, 5.2, is to authorize the mayor to sign an emergency resolution declaring the city's intent to sole source the procurement of the Hugh Nichols Public Safety Building water infiltration repairs from Concerco, Inc., and approve the bid award. So Brian, I'll let you explain why the emergency and what we're doing. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, I'm sure you've heard a lot about this. This goes back to July of 2018 when we very first had a significant amount of water came into the basement of the public safety building. Caused a lot of damage. We had disaster services come in and assist with the demolition of the walls and carpet and everything like that and do the cleanup, and as we submitted that as an insurance claim. We went through a very lengthy process working with ICRIMP until we found out that ICRIMP was not going to cover the replacement. They covered the disaster itself. That's been taken care of. But as far as a remedy for the failure of the membrane on the walls, they will not cover that. So we've gone back to the manufacturer, and we've gone back to the installers, and this has gone on over months and months as we've chased every avenue down. And essentially what we've finally come down to is the warranty for the membrane itself. It still actually has a warranty. But in order for the manufacturer to come and inspect that, we would be responsible to expose the membrane, which means that we would have to excavate 100 foot of the building all the way down to the foundation, taking out all the planters, all the sidewalks, the landscaping, and everything to expose that whole side. No doubt risking more further damage during that process before they will even come out and look at it, at which point, if they determine that they had a failure in their part, they would fix that part under the warranty. We would still be responsible for the costs of rebuilding everything back in. And the costs look to be very high. In working with the legal team on it, going through our different options, it just looked like the best bet was a different approach, knowing that we were going to have to pay for this. We're trying to find the best bang for the buck. We've worked with our structural engineers and several different manufacturers and several different contractors to try to identify the correct method of repairing this. The recommended method is an injection method where they actually come inside the building and drill a series of holes through the foundation and inject a product through the outside, which effectively makes a new membrane on the outside of the wall. And that way you don't have to excavate the whole outside of the building or anything. And so working with a Concerco, a contractor that we've worked with on several other projects before, they're very good at this. They've done a lot of things, a lot of these projects. This is a very specialized kind of work, I guess you'd say. As we were looking at moving forward to determine how to do this, typically this is something that we would put design work together on and put it out to bid. The design work would probably add at least another $10,000 to design it, and then with a length of time to go through the whole bid process and everything, we would likely lose our best window of time to actually get the work done. And so we've gone through a long process. The staff down there have been very, very patient, but their office has been torn up for well over a year now, and they've been able to work around that despite the condition. Because it's a specialty contractor, it's a contractor we've worked with, we've vetted the cost with our structural engineer. We feel like it's a very good cost. We would like to declare this as a sole source procurement. This is the method to do that. And I have a proposal from the contractor right now that fits our approved budget, which is $125,000. We can do this for less than $80,000. And we would hire the engineer to provide oversight, inspections, and assistance, but we would not have to go through a full-blown design and bid and everything. So that's the kind of the purpose of the sole source procurement. It's really kind of a time issue and a specialty type of work issue.
And the other thing you might mention is the fact that we're not going to re-sheet rock those interior walls. We're going to leave them concrete. I'll let you speak to that. And it's a cost savings, but also protection.
That's correct, Mayor. When we looked at this the first go around, the first quotes we had were to basically put everything back the way it was before. I didn't like that because we had sheetrock on the walls before, and we didn't know if we had water leakage in the past or not because it was behind the walls until it got so bad that it finally came out. And so what we've looked at is a different method where we can actually do our coating membrane, and we'll finish the walls and we'll treat them, we'll make them look good, we'll paint them and put the carpet back and the necessary walls. But that way we'll have visibility to the walls in the future, so if we have any issues, we can catch it much earlier before it becomes such a bad disaster.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, just a question. Gardner, the contractor on this?
No.
Okay. Have we used them in other projects in the last several years?
We have used them at the library.
Okay. Can we stop using them? Okay, I really mean that. I mean, library challenges, parking challenges, I mean, this is going on and on. It seems like it just cost us money, and they don't seem to be capable of doing a good job. And I know nothing about construction, but we seem like the taxpayers keep paying the bills after the fact. So I'm pretty opinionated, and who is the contractor?
ESI was the contractor.
Oh, ESI is. They
The
did a lot of
original.
stuff on NNU's campus too. Okay. All right. Maybe you can speak to the ESI, Councilman Haverfield. Okay,
Councilman
thanks.
Haverfield.
You know, I'm sorry, this is the first I've noticed that this is a topic even for discussion. I know we were talking about the upper deck of the parking structure. You're talking below surface in the basement level of the Hugh Nichols building?
That's correct.
And you're having water penetration through the walls or through the floor or both?
Through the groundwater is basically what it is. It's coming through the waterproofing membrane below ground, through the walls.
So you don't know, it's not hydrostatic from below, it's hydrostatic from the side?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's been determined that, that a surface seal, you mentioned sheetrock on the inside surface. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get in the weeds a little bit. Surface sealing the inside face of the concrete walls is not the better option. You're gonna inject to the outside and hopefully it's gonna spread? I mean, what assurance do you have 100% assurance that that method's even gonna work?
Councilman Haverfield, Mayor Councilman Haverfield, what I can tell you is this is the recommended method. It's used everywhere. For instance, Seattle, all the underground tunnels, any place where you go, you know, in the world, really, underground tunnels that are susceptible to water, this is the method that they use.
To inject through the outside and expect it to spread along the surface and totally seal off water wanting to get through?
Inject from the inside.
Inside or the outside?
In some cases, you simply can't access the outside. In our case, we could, but the cost would be astronomically higher than what we're looking at here.
And how much water penetration have you seen down there? Is it just in isolated areas, or is it seasonal groundwater? Is it year-round?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, it's seasonal. We see this appear in the spring, and it will last throughout the spring into the summer when the groundwater is higher. Typically, like now, we haven't seen water down there for quite a while.
So is there
the summer we did.
do you have any surface pipe, or not surface, but below surface pipe for water mitigation with a sump pump or something? If it's seasonal, you can capture that water before it ever gets and becomes hydrostatic. Is there a drain system around the perimeter of the building at the lower level or not?
There is not. There's a drain system in the planter beds, but the planter beds have been turned off. We've turned off the water to those for the last year.
Okay, and I'm going to ask one more question. I'm going to stop because this is ridiculous. To your point, Darrell, did you have a soils report done on this project before this project was ever constructed? And did the soils report indicate that there was groundwater that was seasonal? Was it monitored for a whole year? Was it just one season that it was taken with no groundwater evident?
Well, going back, I can't speak to the exact records that were taking place, but it was known that the groundwater was very high there. There was a lot of work put into putting a membrane product on there. It's been indicated to us that it maybe probably wasn't the best attempt, or the best product used in that case. Nonetheless, they did do a lot of efforts to put a membrane on there.
But they didn't put any tile around the perimeter of the building to get the water away from the sidewalls?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mayor Clean.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you finished?
Well, I'm just flabbergasted. I mean, that's just a total miss as far as on the design side, that if you knew you had seasonal water or even year-round water issues, that you could easily mitigate that with a sump pump that would just eject the water from away from the building so it wouldn't be hydrostatic wanting to get inside the building. Your waterproofing membrane would have worked along with that trench drain, or the tile around the perimeter. It's reprehensible from a design standpoint, but that's, again, I can't believe that was that big of a miss. But
It's my understanding in talking to Patrick that there was full awareness at the time that there was water, and that the decision at the time was made to go ahead and build and then do the quote diaper around this, but go ahead and move forward with that. Needless to say, we weren't here at that time. How many years ago was this building built?
We occupied 2012.
Okay. So under construction in 10?
10 and 11.
10 and 11. Okay.
Mayor Clean.
Yes.
One of the questions
renewal.
One of the questions I have, Brian, is this, and I'm really concerned about this, is that ICRIP was contacted and reported the groundwater is excluded from the policy due to faulty design or workmanship. So why is the city having to pay for something that wasn't done correctly? I guess that's my anger over this whole thing here.
Mayor, Councilman Rodriguez, my anger too. That's why we've worked on this for well over a year. We've chased down every end back to the manufacturer. We've actually had the installing contractor back out there. We've got some issues with the applying contractor that put on the membranes, went out of business, and ESI self-performed some of it. They came back out. They done a few things that were more topical under warranty, but nothing down below ground, which is where our real problems are.
But that was already accepted once the building was completed. We already knew it was going to happen, what was there, and they just said, yes, go ahead and take it. And that's just not right, I don't think. But I'll now ask legal. Mark, is there anything that we have any kind of forward gathering or something to get this thing going on the other end?
Councilman Rodriguez, this was not a project that I was working on directly, and so I'd have to talk to Doug or Marin. Were you working with Marin on this, Brian?
We've worked with Doug and Marin.
Doug and Marin, okay. So certainly we would be doing this without any waiver of claims, and I'm going to need to do a little research to be able to answer that question. I can't answer it right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
So one more question, a follow-up. What warranty do we have on this installation?
The installation is essentially a one-year warranty. The membrane itself has a 15-year warranty.
The membrane that they're injecting, they're drilling through the walls, ejecting something that's going to spread. How does that work? Does it stay within the outer membrane that's already there on the building? Is that how it spreads?
It goes to the outside. It creates a whole new barrier on the outside of the existing barrier.
I've never heard of this before. And I've been in the business for 40 years. I've never heard of this before. So it's new to me.
So the decision tonight is really because of the timing. It's a matter of, do we go ahead and move forward, or if it's the will of the council, because it is an expense, we risk the water intrusion again, and it keeps that downstairs in a challenging environment. I'm sure the chief is ready to get it repaired. At the same time, I understand the concern of the council, and I've asked Patrick many of these same questions of expensing the dollars and not knowing that it's fixed. It's difficult because you've got I think you said a 15-year warranty on the material, but it's only a year on the actual labor. So if a year down the road we have water penetration, we're still at it. And we recognize that. I know considerable work and research has been done. And so this is a little bit difficult. And you've spent quite a amount of time working with ICRIP on this particular issue, trying to decide how to move forward. That's why it has set the length of time that it has set. So at that then, Council?
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Scott.
at this point, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the emergency resolution and direct staff and city attorney to explore legal action to recover damages if at all possible.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
The only point that I would make is this would not be the way that I would attack it. I'd go with the inside surface seal, same thing we see on surface of floors. Quite often when there's hydrostatic pressure that comes about after the fact, it's quite common practice where it's applied, buffed off, new flooring is put over the top of it. Why couldn't it be done on the walls themselves instead of trying to get it injected to the outside? I can't support this without any confidence that this warranty is going to stand up. That's just my position. So I won't be supporting the motion.
And the motion actually, right, the motion was to explore legal damages.
I thought it was to go ahead and allow the...
And allow this. also.
And to go ahead and allow this.
Yeah.
Randy, this is kindness week, right?
I wish I wasn't just blindsided with this. I'm sorry. this is new to me. I hadn't seen this.
So Mayor, if I may, and Councilman Haverfield, question for you. So you're not confident in this repair remedying the situation. So what would be you just mentioned an alternative.
Yeah.
So what type, do you have any idea in your mind what type of cost that would in?
Okay, it's an emergency. Does it have to be done in the next 2 weeks? Can it be paused to the next council meeting so I can get some?
I'm fine with that. I'm just wondering if there's a plausible alternative.
Let me give you an example of an alternative. At NNU, the Johnson Sports Center, they had a sports product that's put on the surface of the floor for the basketball use. It's a seamless floor. They didn't have a vapor barrier underneath it.
Right, I understand
So
that
you
one.
saw what happened.
Yes,
You'd
I
had resulting blisters and such that would happen because moisture comes through, it breaks down the adhesives, causes the blisters in the floor. Same thing here. If what they did there, obviously, is remove the floor, put a surface seal on there that penetrated into the floor itself and cut off all the capillary opportunities for moisture to migrate through. Then they put the floor down over the top of it, and it works. It's a similar, actually, we're doing it right now at the new student commons, where the moisture content in the concrete was still enough that we had to seal it, surface seal it, so that we could put the carpet down over the top of it because we couldn't wait. They needed to have the building open. So there's a product that's applied, and it's got a 20, plus year warranty to it. So, I mean, it's an interior surface seal that doesn't allow the migration, even if it's hydrostatic, to be able to pressure itself back into the environment. The problem you'll have is during the winter months, when it's drier outside or inside, moisture will want to come through. And that's where not only groundwater, but even moisture in air can move through. So I know enough about this that I don't have a level of confidence in this approach that you have. So, and obviously I speak only for myself. I can't stand behind something I don't understand.
So Councilman Haverfield, by the next council meeting, some research, is this going to be
If
done
it
by?
could be provided to me, I'd like to take a look at it
Okay.
and be convinced.
Okay, I will not vote for this, and I will delay that for that to happen, so.
Let me ask a question to clarify. So Brian, how many alternatives have you gone through and finally decided on this one?
We have looked at applications such as Councilman Haverfield brought up. We rely on our designers that have done this all over the Northwest, and we rely on our installers that have also done this all over the Northwest. And they've done many other methods as well, not to say that one works better than another in any particular application, but in this one, this is the preferred method that they recommend. And so that's the direction we went.
I see.
And
Mayor, if I may, so are you able to bring before us then, as far as you say this has worked, so specific examples and something as close to this scenario as we can find? I would be interested in that and something that's happened maybe in the last 5 years or whatever the case is, and it's still, they are not having any further challenges. So in other words, I'm looking for a reference.
Yep.
So not just somebody telling you this, but it's actually, hey, in Seattle at such and such a place, interstate building or whatever the case is, this happened, this is what was done, and it seems to be working. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we currently have a motion on the floor, and that is to move forward and also explore legal damages. We also, I hear that for some that they want to postpone. If we postpone, it is 3 weeks till our next council meeting because we have an extra Monday in here. So what does that do to the project? Could you give us an idea of what happens if we wait for 3 weeks and come back?
At this point, we're hopeful we don't have any groundwater issues. Typically in the fall, we haven't. Looking at ground freezing, things like that might be an impact because the penetrations go all the way up to ground level in the planter beds and everything like that. So I don't know, 3 weeks may not be a problem, but I don't know. I can't forecast that.
Okay.
Mayor
Patrick?
Kling? Question then, since this is an emergency, can this be information that's provided to me tomorrow? And if I'm the holdup, if I can review it and approve it, and then can it be made conditionally in some way, Mark?
Madam Mayor, I think the council could do that. If the motion was clear, right, this is an internal city issue, right? We're not dealing with some third parties' quasi-judicial rights. We just need to make a decision about how to proceed. I think you could pass there's a resolution, pass it with the understanding that, that Councilman Haverfield reviews the material and the data and the information, and if he gives his blessing, then we move forward, and if he doesn't, it's going to be back here in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it would be really, if Councilman Skog would like to amend his motion and add that.
Yes, that would be fine. I get nods from the council, so my motion is amended. Do you want to set a deadline? You need time
This week.
Yeah,
by Friday at
by
5 o'clock.
Friday, I think we could probably do that.
And I don't know, I mean, can I just email everyone or email you and have you take care of it then, Mark, or how would that?
Yeah, I mean, the way I would envision it is if you're satisfied, then the council has already approved the resolution, and then Brian will just go forward. So you guys can work it out between the two of you. If you're not satisfied and there's a problem, then I think you need to communicate with me or the mayor or the clerk to get this back on the agenda.
And Brian would also need to be satisfied.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And again, I mean, back to the idea of tiling around the building, the only other time that I've ran into this before, that's how I solved it. I knew I had seasonal water, I put in a sump pump, gathered the water and got it away from the building. Never had any issues. It still had a waterproofing membrane on the outside of the building, basement condition, very similar to this. Has all the sheetrock been stripped off inside the building?
Yes.
Okay, so you do have access to the outer walls. And what, to the inside surface of the outer walls?
correct.
Has the water, do you see where it's coming from, or could it be coming from underneath too?
No, we see where it's come through the vertical wall.
Okay, so is it cracks, or is it,
We see no cracks,
So it's just-
discoloration.
okay, so it is the microscopic pores that it's coming through in the concrete?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, some of the concern we have is the colors coming through, rusty colors.
Right, that's
and-
effervescence that's coming through the outside walls.
And we're concerned with, with rebar and things like that in the concrete, getting moisture in there and long-term effects.
So,
Provide me the information on how this outside product works then. I can't conceive it in my mind. But if I can see the inside surface treatment that protects and keeps the water from coming through, obviously, like you say, there is potential for moisture to still get to the rebar. But as long as air's not getting to it, you're not going to have bacteria on the rebar itself that's going to break it down.
so why don't we continue, if you don't mind, for sake of time tonight, we'll let you two continue this discussion. And you guys can continue it unless a council person
Well, I was
has
the
a-
second, so I'm trying to understand just from parliamentary purposes that Councilman
Bruce is-
Skog had suggested.
He amended his motion.
What
if
was,
you're willing to.
yeah, what was, it wasn't clear to me.
I'll restate the motion. I move the council authorize the mayor to sign the emergency resolution as presented with staff and city attorney to explore legal action to recover damages, and that this method is only to take place if Councilman Haverfield and Brian are both satisfied with the procedure, and decision needs to be made by Friday at 5 o'clock
Or before.
or before. Oh, wow.
And if I heard legal right, that it's okay to, as a council action, make a pending decision contingent on one council member approving or disapproving the action.
If-
Goes on next agenda. If
Okay,
Okay.
let me ask.
It goes
you-
on next agenda?
Right, exactly.
If it is not, if you're not satisfied, it goes on the next agenda.
If you trust my judgment, is really what it comes down to. Now, if I say, yeah, it's good, let's move forward, you're making a motion to go ahead and go it that way. If I don't agree with it, then it just goes before you again in a couple of weeks.
But my motion is that both staff, Brian, and Councilman Haverfield have to be in agreement.
Yeah.
And, because I understand that there's some particular special conditions with the sole source procurement with this. If there's a different method, I don't know if sole source procurement could be used, or would it have to be bid back out as a separate?
If we don't do this by sole source procurement, basically, we would have to put it out to bid, which would require us to put some design work together and some bid documents and procure at least 3 bids and take the low bid. That's what the requirement would be at this dollar range. There are not many people around in the valley that do this type of work. We might get 2, maybe 3 bids. We haven't seen a lot of interest in work like this.
And we will incur additional costs because we're going to have to go design the project.
We
and
estimate
time.
probably $10,000 to put. the
That was
design
my
and
understanding with
together.
the sole source procurement. In the budget amendment, we already approved 125,000, and then this is an appropriation for 77,270 related to the project with the sole source procurement. The motion is to, pending Councilman Haberfield's approval by Friday,
Or sooner.
just for this motion, not, there couldn't be an alternative approval made without bidding out for something different.
That
If
is
Councilman
correct.
Haverfield wanted a different method that you were speaking to, that seemed like a better alternative.
Can I ask a question of Brian?
Yeah.
Is this isn't the whole perimeter of the building then?
No, this is not.
Just so it's one identified wall?
It's one wall, yes, where we've seen the water come through.
Okay, I will second, do I have to
Amend the
rescind or amend the motion? And yeah, I
You
second,
agree with the
yes,
amended motion?
yes, I agree with the amended motion.
So we have a motion on the table. It's been amended. We have a second and the agreement on the second to the amended motion. Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
I have never heard of blindside waterproofing. I'm looking forward to this.
We haven't had
I'll
SCOG
bring
in
you
city
lots of
yet, have we?
information.
Yeah, and Scott.
Skog,
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, item 5.3 on the agenda. I'm going to move us along because we have a few more things to do tonight. Action, number 5.3 is an action item to authorize the mayor and public works director to execute the documents pertaining to the ITD right-of-way acquisition of the city of Nampa cemetery property.
So moved.
So, second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, sorry, guys. I do have a question of staff. There are differences in values of about $5,000. Why is that?
Mayor, Councilman Levi, the piece of property in question is the very north end of Kohler Lawn Cemetery property. The process is that the state did an appraisal on the property. They came back with a value of $5,204, was what they showed as the highest and best use. There are existing cemetery lots platted there, though they are undeveloped. And so we went and looked at what the value of those were if we were to sell those lots. That was significantly higher than what they had offered. We countered and negotiated to the $10,000 value.
Okay, thank you. And one follow-up question, if I might. This area is not cutting into where the cemetery is planning to have a scattering grounds and a place for children and miscarriages, et cetera.
No, it is not.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Item 5.4 on the agenda is an action item to award the bid to Cyblon. I could have said that wrong, Reed, and authorize the mayor to sign a contract for the aerial sewer replacement FY19 Site 1 project.
So move.
Second.
Disappointed that it's costing, sorry, the discussion's been moved in second, that we estimated 175 and the lowest bid came in at 278. I saw the other three were, some of them were much higher.
Just blame Trump, right?
It said tariffs
Yeah,
and
tariffs.
tariffs on the steel and the size of the pipe recurring, but no, I'll support this. It's just, it's discouraging when you see that sort of discrepancy and variance.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Hogaboom,
yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Item 5.5 is an action item to authorize the mayor to sign the MOU agreement with Summersby Subdivision HOA to install the traffic calming measures on North Midsummer's Lane.
So move.
One second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Item 5.6 on the agenda is an action item to authorize the installation of a no parking zone along both sides of Broadmoor Drive between Shannon Drive and 4th Street North.
So move.
Second.
You guys got to jump in here. Okay.
Discussion? I think the second was,
I was.
okay.
Sorry, I was talking.
Fine. Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Michael. I see why you guys are waiting out there.
He's used to waiting. That's
Sorry, we
fine.
put it clear at the end. So item 5.7 is an action item to authorize, one, the inclusion of Project Group H in Project Group F Progressive Design Build Contract, and two, to request for qualifications, the RFQ advertisement for the selection of the Progressive Design Build teams to complete the wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 upgrades, Project Group F.
I'm going to so move, but it's mainly Councilman Haverfield and myself would be aware of this, so I understand if you want to wait, but
And I'll
I will
second
make the
that.
motion.
It's been moved and seconded, and this is really quite exciting
Yes,
Yes.
it
to
is.
get to this point and to be able to move forward. And I so appreciate the work of everyone that's gotten us to this place. So are there any questions or is there any discussion regarding this? For those that are here, there's been a lot of look at this. This is not a surprise. So the reason there's no discussion really is it's because we know what it is, we know where it's going, and there's been quite a bit of discussion surrounding it. So hearing no discussion, roll call.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 5.8 is an action item to authorize the mayor to sign the amended agreement for the lease of wastewater treatment capacity and connection fee and issue an industrial waste acceptance permit addendum for the leased capacity with Admiral Beverage Company.
I'll make a motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions? Roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Item 5.9 is an action item to authorize the mayor and public works director to sign the amended task order for the additional consultant services with Stantec for the Nampa wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 upgrades, Project Group D, and primary digester number 5, and related facilities design.
I'll make the motion to approve task order.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
That's really what you were waiting for.
You
Yes,
guys
that
get out
one.
of here now.
Okay.
We got to get you up just because you're here, right?
So item 5.10 on the agenda is an action item related to our public hearing number 6.5, and this is the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to RS4, single-family residential for the zoning district for the Springbrook subdivision at 1104, 1210, 1306, and 1318 Lone Star Road.
An orders determining that certain lands commonly known as 1104, 1210, 1306, and 1308 Lone Star Road comprising of approximately 19.311 acres, more or less, lay contiguous to the city limits of the city of Nampa, county of Canyon, state of Idaho, and that said lands should be annexed into the city of Nampa, Idaho as part of the RS4 zone, declaring that said lands by proper legal descriptions as described below be part of the city of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to add said property to the official maps of the city of Nampa, Idaho, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing an effective date, and directing the clerk of the city of Nampa to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, state of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63215.
So it is requested to pass this under suspension of rules, and if there's any questions, the reason this comes forward tonight is that they actually got their work done. We have a number that the first reading, the ordinance for annexation and zoning is not done. This one was done well in advance if it went through public hearing. That's why it can come forward tonight quicker than all that are sitting under number 8 that are still waiting. So, and then it is requested to be passed under suspension of rules, and that means that you're suspending the rule, which causes you to go 3 different readings at 3 different council meetings, which takes a tremendous amount of time. So, just for clarification, did I state that correctly, legal? I hope I did. I want to make sure I didn't make a mistake there. So I would stand for a motion to approve and request to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call?
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
And item 511 on the agenda is the same thing again. This is a resolution based on the public hearing, number 6-1, and it's a resolution for Republic Services Construction and Demolition Disposal fee increase to approve it.
Is that under suspension of rules also, or do we have to?
It isn't stated.
It's a resolution. It's
It's
not
not
a-
Or
it's
just
not
a
an
resolution?
ordinance,
So moved, resolution as stated.
Should you have to read it?
It's been moved and
Nope.
Okay.
was it seconded? I don't think so. So we have,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
You want to second that?
Way to wake up. Join the party.
Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Okay, moving to unfinished business. Item number 7-1 on the agenda is an action item, and this is the first reading of an ordinance correcting ordinance number 4396. And it is requested to be passed under suspension of rules, and there's also a summary of publication for this ordinance, and the action item would be to request we pass both the summary of publication and approve after the reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, determining that 16 street right-of-way segments lay contiguous to the city limits of the Canyon County, Idaho, and that said segments should be annexed into the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, and be assigned a zoning designation corresponding to adjoining private lands, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below be part of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, determining that 9 street right-of-way segments should be de-annexed from the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to add said properties to the official maps of the City of Nampa, Idaho. In the case of the de-annexations, remove said property from the official maps of the City of Nampa, Idaho, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing an effective date, and directing the clerk of the City of Nampa to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63215.
Mayor Kling, I'll make a motion to pass the corrected ordinance as read under suspension of rules along with the summary of publication.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog? Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
So section 8 on the agenda are pending ordinances, and we have 8 right now. We have 1 clear back from February. So I'm just curious, we'll have to talk to planning and zoning about why we're still waiting on that one. But those are the ones that we're waiting on. So they are noted there. And then the last item on our agenda is a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061J, and this is to consider labor contract matters authorized under Section 672345A, 74206A, 1A, and B by Idaho Code.
So moved.
Madam Mayor, there's no need for that meeting tonight. There's been no changes, unless you
I-
just want to kill time and go over some numbers.
Well, I'm thinking that, I think staff felt like there was an opportunity to actually have a discussion because it'll be another 3 weeks. So at least to bring the council up to speed on that, if we could.
I'd prefer not.
So it's for the executive session.
Yeah, I do have some revised summaries to present. No numbers specifics have changed, but with the understanding the council has some data that they may perhaps want to look at. But it's the same data, basically the same data you and I have reviewed in prior meetings.
But it has not been presented to council for their review. Correct. So it would be the will of the council if you guys opt to take the opportunity to review the documents.
Personally, I mean, if it's nothing different than what we saw at the,
It is different than what you've seen, in my opinion.
I've taken the existing data and tried to make it a little more clear to understand what the real impact is between the various components of the negotiations. There had been some question between myself and Clay and Kurt what the our chief carpenter what the total impact is. So if there was any lack of clarity with the council, I would be glad to share that with them in the data that I prepared tonight. My goal is to give you the best information to make the best decision.
I'll defer to council president, whatever you guys want.
I would recommend we have a short executive session and get
Are you going to do a second?
Is there a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we'll do roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
No.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Okay.
With the will of the council.
Councilman Scogger, are you going to be there?